Chapter 426. High up in the sky, the Tianfeng martial immortal sat on a huge condor. This Ting Qingshan is actually able to resist? The Tianfeng martial immortal sneered. If you can't resist and challenge me, I can take the opportunity to kill you. If you can resist, you can be a coward. With his status, the Tianfeng martial immortal would never use this move unless he was forced into a corner. Regardless of whether it was because of Ting Qingshan's potential, the enmity between them, or the fact that Ting Qingshan had forcefully captured people from the Hellion clan. All these factors made the Tianfeng martial immortal swear to kill Ting Qingshan. The East Flower Garden was silent. Qingshan. Li Jun wanted to say something but stopped. She looked at Ting Qingshan worriedly. Whether it was in the land of the 9 prefectures or Duanmu continent, reputation was very important. Many people were willing to sacrifice their lives for fame. The Tianfeng martial immortal's words were equivalent to spitting on Ting Qingshan's face. Qingshan, don't fall for his provocation, the dreamy cloud martial immortal said solemnly. Ting Qingshan's face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. Kill! Ting Qingshan's heart was filled with murderous intent. Tianfeng martial immortal? You want to force me to die with such a trick? I am not hot-headed. If you want me to challenge you, don't worry, it will happen soon. The many experiences in this life made Ting Qingshan full of heroic spirit. However, as an assassin in his previous life, Ting Qingshan would not be provoked by a few words. Old Brother Mu. Ting Qingshan looked at the dreamy cloud martial immortal. Qingshan. The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled and said, "It seems that you have adjusted your mental state. Actually, you don't have to care. The relationship between Emptiness Realm experts was a form of mutual threat. Because of the Tianfeng clan, he doesn't dare to provoke me. He is afraid that I will kill him. I also don't want to provoke him because of the Mu clan. However, you, Qingshan, are different. You don't have a clan." The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled and said, "Therefore, he is afraid of you. If you fight with him, he has tens of thousands of clansmen to protect. He will be at a disadvantage. Moreover, you're on my side, so he wants to eliminate you as soon as possible." I understand. The barefooted are not afraid of those who wear shoes. Ting Qingshan smiled lightly. Didn't the 8 supreme sects of the land of the 9 prefectures flourish because they had Emptiness Realm experts? No one was willing to offend an Emptiness Realm expert who had nothing to worry about. After all, if such an Emptiness Realm expert targeted the sect, then the enemy would have to stay in the sect. If there was a large disparity in strength, like how the Tianfeng martial immortal was much stronger than Ting Qingshan, then it would still be fine as the Tianfeng martial immortal would be able to intimidate his opponent. If their strengths were similar, it would be terrible if they were bound by a sect. Brother Mu, do you know the strength of the Tianfeng martial immortal? Ting Qingshan asked. Haha, I have fought with him before. He is slightly weaker than me. The dreamy cloud martial immortal couldn't help but laugh. Brother Mu, let's learn from each other. Let's see how big the gap is between me and the Tianfeng martial immortal. As Ting Qingshan spoke, he waved his hand and the reincarnation spear, which was leaning against the wall, floated into Ting Qingshan's hand. The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled and nodded. All right. Let's see how strong Qingshan is after attaining the Emptiness Realm. By the lakeside of the East Flower Garden, only Li Jun, Ting Shou, Mu Yunji, the great elder Mu Wang, and a few others were watching. On the surface of the lake, Ting Qingshan and the dreamy cloud martial immortal faced each other. Chi-Chi, the light surrounding the two seemed to be slightly distorted. Streams of fiery light revolved around Ting Qingshan's body, while the dreamy cloud martial immortal's body was surrounded by a dark green glow. It was like lightning but also like the dark night. Qingshan, make your move. With a clang, the dreamy cloud martial immortal unsheathed the huge wolf-headed saber on his back. Ting Qingshan couldn't help but hold his breath. The aura of the dreamy cloud martial immortal was like the gathering of countless lightning bolts, spreading like dark clouds and covering the horizon. As for Ting Qingshan, his aura was like a flaming sun. Although it wasn't scorching hot, it couldn't even be covered by the dark clouds. Last time, when I had yet to attain the emptiness realm, the dreamy cloud martial immortal didn't even draw his saber when he fought with me. Let's see how my most powerful attack is like. At this moment, Ting Qingshan seemed to be immersed in the fire elemental Tao. He shouted, "Brother Mu, watch this move of mine, vermilion tiger roar." The sound exploded and the surface of the lake shook. The reincarnation spear in Ting Qingshan's hand instantly transformed into a roaring fiery dragon. Boom! The surrounding fire elemental power surged madly into the reincarnation spear, causing the power of the spear to increase rapidly. All the rays of light from the spinning fiery dragon revolved along the spearhead and gathered at the tip of the spear. Break! With eyes as sharp as blades, Ting Qingshan shouted fiercely. Roar! Like the howl of a heavenly wolf, the wolf-headed saber in the dreamy cloud martial immortal's hand transformed into a greenish-black lightning saber light and directly collided with the brightest point on the tip of the reincarnation spear. Boom! With an explosive sound, a bolt of lightning spread along the wolf-headed saber and along the reincarnation spear, blasting onto Ting Qingshan's body. Ting Qingshan's entire body trembled, and he actually fell into the lake uncontrollably. The dreamy cloud martial immortal retreated 7 steps on the surface of the lake before he could steady himself. He couldn't help but look in Ting Qingshan's direction in astonishment. Qingshan. Li Jun, who was watching at the side, couldn't help but feel worried. Plop! A figure broke out of the water and stood on the surface of the water again. He looked at Li Jun with a smile and said, "I'm fine. Brother Qingshan, I underestimated you." The dreamy cloud martial immortal looked at Ting Qingshan in astonishment and said, "Even I suffered a loss just now. Brother Mu, what's the difference between me and the Tianfeng martial immortal?" Ting Qingshan hastily asked. "Now, it seems that the difference isn't very big." The dreamy cloud martial immortal exclaimed, "I originally thought that Qingshan, you have just attained the emptiness realm and can control 20% of the power of the heavens and earth. However, the attack just now clearly contained the power of 40% of the power of the heavens and earth." 40%? Ting Qingshan was astonished. "Qingshan, let me tell you this," the dreamy cloud martial immortal said with a smile. "The explosive strength of a Golden Dan innate expert is around 800,000 jin. If one controls 10% of the power of the heavens and earth, the explosive strength would increase by 800,000 jin. Of course, this was just a rough estimate. In a real fight, there are many factors." Ting Qingshan nodded slightly. "The explosive power of an emptiness realm expert should be the explosive power of his true origin and the power of the heavens and earth. The first time I sparred with the dreamy cloud martial immortal, I exerted a strength of 1,600,000 jin. No wonder he thought that I had attained the emptiness realm." Ting Qingshan suddenly understood. As for the vermilion tiger roar, it combines physical strength with supreme force, and can exert an explosive force of 2,400,000 jin. In addition to 20% of the heaven and earth energy. He said that I can control close to 40% of the power of heaven and earth. Ting Qingshan completely understood. His advantage was his extra physical strength, 800,000 jin, which was equivalent to 10% of the power of the heavens and earth. As for the vermilion tiger roar, it could unleash another 800,000 kilograms of force, which was another 10% of the power of heaven and earth. In addition to the 20% of the power of heaven and earth that he controlled, it was exactly 40%. Qingshan, you're really something. Novice emptiness realm expert. The dreamy cloud martial immortal sighed in admiration. How is it compared to the Tianfeng martial immortal? Ting Qingshan asked expectantly. The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled and said, Qingshan, in a fight between emptiness realm experts, the amount of power of the heavens and earth that one can control is the foundation. For example, emptiness realm culmination. If one can control 100% of the power of the heavens and earth, even if he doesn't have any special techniques, he can still kill us easily with just 100% of the power of the heavens and earth. Ting Qingshan nodded. Some special techniques that are suitable for one can exert special effects. The dreamy cloud martial immortal explained. For example, some special techniques can be used by people who can only control 20% of the power of the heavens and earth. However, they can exert a power that is equivalent to 30% of the power of the heavens and earth. Ting Qingshan smiled. His vermilion tiger roar was such a special technique. However, the vermilion tiger roar was a trick. It relied on the uniqueness of the Supreme Force. The Supreme Force could be used in the outside world like the true origin. It could also be fused into the muscles and bones, allowing the body to exert a force of 1,600,000 Jin. However, the innate true origin couldn't hide in every part of the muscles and cells. According to one's uniqueness, one can comprehend some special techniques. The dreamy cloud martial immortal praised. Qingshan, the Tianfeng martial immortal, can exert 60% of the power of the heavens and earth. 60%? Ting Qingshan was shocked. Even with all his advantages, he could only exert 40%. Haha, don't be discontented. How long have you been cultivating? And how long has Helion been cultivating? The dreamy cloud martial immortal said with a smile. Yes. Ting Qingshan nodded with a smile. However, Qingshan, emptiness realm experts pay the most attention to the comprehension of Tao, followed by the special technique. At the same time, there are weapons. Weapons that can exert strength. Just now, I felt that there was something wrong with your weapon, the dreamy cloud martial immortal said. Yes. The shaft of the reincarnation spear can't withstand such a strong explosive force. Ting Qingshan smiled bitterly. In the past, when Ting Qingshan exerted an attack of 200,000 Jin, he had to carefully maintain the spear shaft. Now, with the addition of 20% of the power of the heavens and earth, the interior of the spear shaft was damaged. How can we do it without a good weapon? The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled and said, Don't worry. Leave this to me. Old brother Mu, Ting Qingshan hastily said, how about this? I will still use the reincarnation spear in my hand. I don't need to change the spearhead. This spear shaft, you can ask someone to do as you see fit. The reincarnation spear was personally forged by his father and grandfather. They spent the most time on the spearhead, but the spear shaft was easy to forge. The dreamy cloud martial immortal glanced at it and said, Yes, the spearhead of your long spear is indeed made of top-notch materials. It is even harder than the fiery gilt steel. There is indeed no need to change it. 10 millennia cold steel was the hardest material in the 9 prefectures. Naturally, there was no need to exchange it. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. The appearance of the reincarnation spear had also changed slightly. The spearhead was still made of the 10 millennia cold steel, but the spear shaft had become silver gray. Moreover, if one observed the spear shaft from a certain angle, one could faintly see a red glow. At the same time, the weight of the entire reincarnation spear increased rapidly. It reached 168 Jin. According to the dreamy cloud martial immortal, the material used to forge the spear shaft was the purple essence jade iron, which was unique to the dreamy cloud swampland. It was extremely tough. It could be said that the purple essence jade iron was the most suitable material to forge the spear shaft in the entire Duanmu continent. Ting Qingshan had also experimented with the reincarnation spear. Now, the reincarnation spear could easily withstand this force if he exerted his full strength. Inside the secret chamber, Ting Qingshan sat cross-legged. His ears moved slightly, and he could easily hear the discussions on the streets several li away. What are you afraid of? There are 3 great martial immortals in the world. Our dreamy cloud ancient city now has the dreamy cloud martial immortal and the blazing flame martial immortal. Why should we be afraid of the Tianfeng martial immortal? One of the sentences caught Ting Qingshan's attention. 3 great martial immortals, the dreamy cloud martial immortal, the Tianfeng martial immortal, and the blazing flame martial immortal? Ting Qingshan was startled. The blazing flame martial immortal is talking about me. Chapter 427. Using the sound transmission technique and hearing voices that were several li away were just the tricks of the emptiness realm expert. Sound was produced by vibrations. Within the domain, the emptiness realm experts could clearly feel the vibrations of sound by relying on the power of the heavens and the earth. By simulating the vibrations in their ears, the emptiness realm experts would be able to hear sounds that were several li or even 30 li away. It was the same principle. Through the power of the heavens and earth, he simulated the same vibration in the other party's ears. This was sound transmission. I didn't expect that I would also become a fiery war god. Ting Qingshan smiled and continued to listen. Flame war god? Haha. Previously, when the Tianfeng martial immortal scolded him in the sky above the dreamy cloud ancient city, he was so scared that he didn't dare to utter a word. He could only hide in the city like a turtle. If you want to compare, then compare the dreamy cloud martial immortal to the Tianfeng martial immortal. As for the blazing flame martial immortal compared to the Tianfeng martial immortal, TSK, he is far inferior. A hoarse sneer sounded. Ting Qingshan shook his head with a smile and continued to listen. What are you talking about? The Tianfeng martial immortal came to the dreamy cloud ancient city to curse loudly, and the blazing flame martial immortal was a martial saint not long ago. He had just become a war god. One had just become a war god, while the other had been a war god for over 100 years. What was so strange about the Tianfeng martial immortal being so powerful? If I were the flame war god, I know that I am not as strong as you. What? Do you think I'm going to die just because you scolded me? That's a real idiot. The rough voice said, In my opinion, the Tianfeng martial immortal is very powerful, but he still used such a method to provoke him. It's a disgrace. That's not right. The flaming war god went to their house to cause a ruckus. Is the Tianfeng martial immortal supposed to swallow his anger? The hoarse voice retorted. The flaming war god is giving me face. If they really wanted to cause a ruckus, they would have already burned the Hellion residence and burned tens of thousands of Hellion clansmen to death. The Tianfeng martial immortal is not grateful to the other party for showing mercy. Instead, he sneers at us. That's too much. The 2 drinkers chatted as they drank. Ever since the Tianfeng martial immortal appeared in the sky above the dreamy cloud ancient city, such discussions could be heard everywhere in the dreamy cloud ancient city. Ting Qingshan smiled. Although the strength of the people in the world is ordinary, they are not weak. However, he is not a fool. Everyone can see through the Tianfeng martial immortal's schemes. Yes. Ting Qingshan's gaze fell on the 2 rows of the 36 splitting mountain forms stone inscriptions in front of him. Currently, I have created the 8th move of the earth element fist and the metal element fist, while the water element fist is still the 6th move. As long as he made another breakthrough and comprehended another Tao, then he would be able to control another 20% of the heaven and earth's power. At that time, you will be able to compete with the Tianfeng martial immortal. ********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* months had passed since Ting Qingshan got married. Early in the morning, East Flower Garden. Screech, screech, the blue Luan was circling back and forth in midair while staring at Ting Qingshan, who was practicing his punches on the surface of the lake. Ever since Ting Qingshan comprehended the fire elemental Tao, Blue Luan would let Ting Qingshan practice the fire elemental fist every morning. After all, Blue Luan walked the path of the fire elemental Tao. Watching the fire elemental fist was indeed very beneficial to her. Blue Luan has finished practicing 30 times. Ting Qingshan glanced at Blue Luan with a smile as the Blue Luan descended from midair. Qingshan. Li Jun stood by the lakeside with a cup of morning tea in her hands. Ting Qingshan smiled as he tapped the surface of the lake and flew over. Yes, it smells good. Ting Qingshan picked up a meat bun and swallowed it. Li Jun couldn't help but smile. She glanced at the Blue Luan and said, Qingshan, the Blue Luan also said that she wants to become a phoenix. The fire elemental Tao is the best for her, and she is also the strongest. The other Daos won't be able to transform her to the peak of perfection. Ting Qingshan nodded. Humans could choose any Tao and step into the emptiness realm. However, demonic beasts were different. Even if humans stepped into the emptiness realm, their bodies wouldn't change much. Regardless of whether it was Ting Qingshan or other emptiness realm experts, their bodies would still be the same as before they reached the emptiness realm. However, demonic beasts were different. After reaching the emptiness realm, the demonic beasts' entire bodies would change. For example, when the dragon turtle reached the emptiness realm, it would change from a gigantic dragon turtle to a golden dragon turtle. For example, when the strength of a python increased, its body would gradually change until it became a real flood dragon. For example, the flood dragon Violet Rain that instantly killed over 10,000 soldiers. Before it reached the emptiness realm, it was just like its descendant, a purple radiant flood dragon. It was the same for the Blue Luan. After reaching the emptiness realm, it could transform into the undying phoenix. However, only when the fire elemental Tao entered the undying phoenix would it be at its peak state. The flames it spat out were also the strongest flames. Of course, after the fire elemental Tao entered the undying phoenix, it could also comprehend other Daos until the emptiness realm culmination. The emptiness realm culmination was the limit of demonic beasts. I know. That's why the Blue Luan always wants to watch me practice the fire elemental fist. Ting Qingshan smiled and finished the bowl of porridge. Qingshan, when are we going back to the land of the 9 prefectures? Li Jun suddenly asked. Back to the land of the 9 prefectures? Ting Qingshan froze. He looked southward and said, I feel that I will break through soon. After comprehending one more Tao and killing the Tianfeng martial immortal, we will go back. When we become stronger, we will be more confident in the land of the 9 prefectures. After all, there are many more emptiness realm experts in the land of the 9 prefectures. In terms of emptiness realm experts, Yangzhou, one of the 9 prefectures, had 2. If Ting Qingshan was included, there would be 3 emptiness realm experts in Yangzhou. If Yangzhou could have 3 emptiness realm experts, what about the other prefectures? The places where Emperor Yu's Hall and the Qinling clan were located wouldn't have fewer experts than Yangzhou. After returning to the land of the 9 prefectures, I want to destroy Qinghu Island and pass down the branch of internal martial art. It will be difficult to be on par with the Buddhist sect and the Taoist sect. Ting Qingshan thought to himself. The situation in the land of the 9 prefectures was not as simple as Duanmu continent. Including himself, there were only 3 emptiness realm experts in Duanmu continent. Moreover, none of the 3 had reached the emptiness realm culmination. Qingshan, what are you thinking about? Li Jun held Ting Qingshan's hand. Nothing. Ting Qingshan smiled as he held his wife's hand. No matter what, for little June, for father, mother, and the others, I will occupy a piece of land in the land of the 9 prefectures. I'll kill anyone who tries to stop me. Ting Qingshan had endured for too long. His heart had long been filled with anger that was about to explode and set off a huge storm. He would never forget the battle at the Great Yen Mountain. At that time, the supreme sects were powerless to resist, and Qingqing died tragically. In the end, he had to flee all over the world. I will definitely take revenge for everything that happened in the past. The first one is Qinghu Island. At this moment, Ting Qingshan had an indomitable belief that if God obstructs him, he will kill God. If Buddha obstructs him, he will destroy Buddha. Alright, little June, I will continue practicing my fist art. Ting Qingshan continued practicing his fist art on the surface of the lake. He first practiced the earth element fist and then the metal element fist. This was because the 17th to 22nd forms of the 36 splitting mountain forms were a combination of the elements of earth, metal, and fire. After the element of fire entered the Tao, Ting Qingshan had a slight breakthrough in the metal element fist and created the 8th form. Now, both the earth element fist and the metal element fist had created the 8th form. Pooh! 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 For some unknown reason, Ting Qingshan was practicing the metal element fist at this moment. His punches seemed to be able to tear the heavens and the earth apart. Almost everyone in the East Flower Garden, including the maids, Blue Luan, and the whole Gale Eagle, stared at Ting Qingshan, who was practicing the metal element fist. At this moment, Ting Qingshan's eyes were like lightning, and his entire body was like a huge axe. His punches were big and powerful, and his aura was astonishing. Moreover, the speed of his practice was getting faster and faster. Ting Qingshan repeated the 8 consecutive moves of the metal element fist, and his aura was continuously increasing. Teacher, what's wrong? Yang Dong watched in surprise. Teacher, it seems different. Ting Shou also revealed an expression of surprise. Just when everyone was surprised, break! A furious roar sounded from Ting Qingshan's throat. Ting Qingshan raised his right hand high, and like a godly axe that could split the heavens and the earth, he slashed forward with an inexhaustible force. It was as if all the restraints and shackles in the world were smashed into pieces, and a path to the heavens was created. Boom! There was no trace of supreme force, but the entire space was completely distorted. Rumble, streaks of sharp golden flowing light circulated around Ting Qingshan like swords. Soon, a person appeared at the entrance of the East Flower Garden, the dreamy cloud martial immortal. How is this possible? The dreamy cloud martial immortal stared at Ting Qingshan in astonishment. It has only been a few months. How is this possible? Teacher, you broke through again? Ting Shou and Yang Dong were also astonished. Standing on the surface of the lake, Ting Qingshan's eyes were like lightning, and his aura was like a godly axe that could split the heavens. He stood there like a god of war. Actually, Ting Qingshan had expected that he would break through again a few months after stepping into the emptiness realm. After all, Ting Qingshan wanted to reach the emptiness realm by relying on the earth elemental Tao. However, he broke through with the fire elemental Tao first. I didn't expect this. I really didn't expect this. It's fine if I reach the emptiness realm by relying on the fire elemental Tao. I didn't expect that the second Tao I comprehended would actually be the metal elemental Tao. Ting Qingshan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had placed his greatest hope on the earth elemental Tao, but he still hadn't broken through yet. The other 2 Taos had already broken through. The metal elemental Tao, Ting Qingshan's conviction was firm. It was the indomitable state of mind that allowed Ting Qingshan to match the concept of the metal elemental fist. The more he practiced, the happier he became. His aura continued to accumulate, and eventually, he naturally struck out a punch that seemed to split the heavens and the earth apart and cleave apart all obstacles. Qingshan, I can only say that I admire you. The dreamy cloud martial immortal walked on the surface of the lake and looked at Ting Qingshan with a smile as he praised. I have cultivated several Taos at the same time. Previously, I broke through with the fire elemental Tao. Now, I have broken through with the metal elemental Tao. Ting Qingshan smiled. Among the 5 elements, only the earth elemental fist had created the 8th move. The water elemental fist had only created the sixth move. As for the wood elemental fist, he hadn't even created a single move. At this moment, the dreamy cloud martial immortal was filled with admiration and envy. This speed of improvement was indeed incredible. Old brother Mu, when I compete with Duanmu deity. When Duanmu deity just attained the emptiness realm, he could already control 50% of the power of the heavens and the earth. Now that I have completed the metal elemental Tao, I can only control 40% of the power of the heavens and the earth, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. The dreamy cloud martial immortal laughed and said, Qingshan, your previous attacks were already comparable to 40% of the power of the heavens and the earth. Now that you have made a breakthrough, even if you compete with the Tianfeng martial immortal, we will only know who will win after the fight. Yes. Ting Qingshan nodded with a smile and said, I am ready. 3 days later, I will fight with the Tianfeng martial immortal. According to Ting Qingshan's plan, he would return to the land of the 9 prefectures after the fight with the Tianfeng martial immortal. Chapter 428. 3 days? So urgent? The dreamy cloud martial immortal was astonished. Little did he know that Ting Qingshan had always been thinking about his hometown, the land of the 9 prefectures. Once the matter with the Tianfeng martial immortal was settled, he would be able to return to the land of the 9 prefectures. Elder brother Mu, does this Tianfeng martial immortal have any unique skills when it comes to fighting? Ting Qingshan asked. Only by knowing one's self and one's enemy could one emerge victorious in 100 battles. Ultimate move. By the way, Qingshan, let me remind you. The dreamy cloud martial immortal said solemnly, if you control different powers of the heavens and the earth, it will be troublesome when you circulate them. Trouble? Ting Qingshan frowned. Yes. The dreamy cloud martial immortal had a solemn expression as he said, yes, it is very troublesome. Different powers of heaven and earth would conflict with each other. The move you used last time was called Vermilion Tiger Roar, right? This move clearly contained the Tao of fire. However, since it contained the power of the fire element, it was naturally very smooth. But if you use fire and metal elemental energy at the same time, the 2 powers of heaven and earth will conflict with each other, greatly reducing the power. 40% of the power of the heavens and earth will be neutralized by 5%. When Ting Qingshan heard this, he could not help but be secretly shocked. He had just attained the emptiness realm, so he had no experience in controlling 2 different types of the power of the heavens and the earth. Try it yourself. The dreamy cloud martial immortal said with a smile. When you feel confident that you can fight against the Tianfeng martial immortal, you can go. Actually, with your current strength, it is almost impossible for the Tianfeng martial immortal to kill you. You don't have to worry too much. Ting Qingshan smiled. It's the same principle. It's not very possible for me to kill him. When 2 Emptiness Realm experts fought, the Emptiness Realm Culmination expert would naturally be able to easily defeat or even kill the Novice Emptiness Realm expert. However, if a Novice Emptiness Realm expert wanted to escape, even an Emptiness Realm Culmination expert might not be able to stop him. Previously, the Tianfeng martial immortal shouted arrogantly in the dreamy cloud ancient city, calling me a coward. He said that he was overseeing Tianfeng City and was waiting for me. I'm afraid I won't go. Ting Qingshan grinned. This time, even if I can't kill the Tianfeng martial immortal, I will make him the laughingstock of the world. Previously, the Tianfeng martial immortal was too arrogant. If it had only been a few months, Ting Qingshan would have defeated him fair and square. The Tianfeng martial immortal was too ashamed to face anyone. However, I'll have to figure out how to perfectly unleash the metal elemental energy and fire elemental energy. Although it was a joyous occasion for him to make another breakthrough and comprehend the metal elemental Tao. However, Ting Qingshan did not cause much of a commotion. Only a few people in the East Flower Garden, the dreamy cloud martial immortal, and the great elder Mu Wang held a lunch banquet. After lunch, Ting Qingshan began to refine his spear art. A mighty wind blew, causing ripples on the surface of the lake. Ting Qingshan stepped on the surface of the lake like an immortal and held the reincarnation spear in his hand. "Give it a try." Ting Qingshan immediately pulled with his right hand and held the spear with his left hand. With a turn of the spear's shaft, the fire elemental power and the metal elemental power revolved along the shaft of the reincarnation spear according to Ting Qingshan's control. It was as if an electric drill had drilled through the entire heaven and earth. The reincarnation spear had transformed into an enormous reddish-gold electric drill. Break! As soon as Ting Qingshan's strength burst forth, the power of the heavens and earth and the supreme force that revolved on the spear shaft and the tip of the spear continuously revolved and compressed. Accompanied by the tremendous strength that erupted from Ting Qingshan's body, the power of the heavens and earth simultaneously burst forth from the tip of the spear. Pooh! At the tip of the spear, the space distorted, causing the surrounding space to tremble. Rumble! A series of explosions rang out, causing the surface of the lake to explode and splashing countless snow-white waves. As expected, Ting Qingshan frowned and said, "Elder Brother Mu is right. When the fire elemental power and the metal elemental power are combined, they contradict each other. Although they are both under my control, they still consume a lot of energy in the process of contradicting each other. Although I have 40% of the power of the heavens and earth, I can only use 35%. In addition to the strength of my body and the increase from the vermilion tiger roar, my attack power is only equivalent to 55% of the power of the heavens and earth." This difficult problem had stumped Ting Qingshan. How could he combine the two different powers into one? How could they not contradict each other and produce the most powerful force in one move? Ting Qingshan began to think hard every day. How should I execute it? Ting Qingshan pondered. "Qingshan, eat. Why are you standing there in a daze?" At the dining table, Li Jun couldn't help but laugh. At the side, Ting Shou, Yang Dong, and Fu Yuping all snickered. Ever since Ting Qingshan comprehended the metal elemental Tao, he seemed to be absent-minded. No one knew what he was thinking about. "Oh!" Ting Qingshan was startled and smiled. He stopped thinking about it and continued to eat his lunch. "Ah Dong, how is your practice of the 12 forms fist art going?" Ting Qingshan asked. "Senior martial brother said that I didn't practice it well," Yang Dong said helplessly. Ting Qingshan looked over, and Ting Shou hastily replied, "Teacher, I told him that the tiger form is the most important of the 12 forms. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to practice the godly tiger form technique in the future." However, Ah Dong only learned the tiger form fist art in a superficial manner. He doesn't have the true concept. On the contrary, he always likes to practice sword art. Yang Dong didn't dare to make a sound. Cultivating the internal martial art requires talent. Ting Qingshan glanced at Yang Dong with a smile and said, "Practice for another year. I'll let you practice inner strength." "Yes, teacher." Yang Dong was overjoyed. Ting Qingshan smiled. Teacher's internal martial art has a high requirement for talent. Perhaps 1 out of several people would succeed in cultivating inner strength. But for internal martial arts, I'm afraid only 1 out of 100 people can succeed. In this era of abundant spiritual qi, people's aptitudes were generally higher than those in Ting Qingshan's previous world. It's not strange that you can't practice the internal martial art. Everyone has a path that suits them. I can't force the two of you to walk the same path. As soon as Ting Qingshan finished speaking, he froze. Everyone has a path that suits them? You can't force them to follow the same path? Ting Qingshan was in a trance. Gradually, his eyes lit up. "Ha ha!" Ting Qingshan couldn't help but laugh happily. "Qingshan." Li Jun was slightly surprised. "Teacher, uncle?" Ting Shou, Yang Dong, and Fu Yuping were all very surprised. You guys eat first. Ting Qingshan didn't care about anything else. He picked up the reincarnation spear and leaped onto the surface of the lake. This vast lake was very suitable for Ting Qingshan to practice his fist art. He also didn't need to worry about damaging the buildings. I'm really too stupid. I was thinking in the wrong direction from the beginning. Standing on the surface of the lake, Ting Qingshan was extremely excited. The power of fire and the power of metal are two completely different types of power of the heavens and earth. How is it possible for them to be one and not conflict with each other? Different people have different paths. I can't force them to be together. It's the same principle. The two types of power of the heavens and earth can't be forcefully mixed together either. Many thoughts flashed through Ting Qingshan's mind as he thought to himself, I should use them more skillfully according to their conflicting characteristics. At Ting Qingshan's level, once he thought in the right direction, it was very easy for Ting Qingshan to find a solution. Isn't it much simpler this way? Ting Qingshan was overjoyed. Ting Qingshan once again swung the spear shaft and performed the move Vermilion Tiger Roar. However, this time, the metal elemental power and the fire elemental power formed a spiral structure, resembling a pair of dragons playing with a pearl. The two types of power of the heavens and the earth continuously revolved around the spear shaft. They revolved around each other without touching each other. They revolved continuously and compressed continuously. When they revolved to a point at the tip of the spear, the power of metal and the power of fire gathered for the first time. The two types of powerful power of the heavens and earth originally conflicted with each other. At this moment they were compressed to the extreme along with the spiral structure. Moreover, the two different types of power of the heavens and earth were compressed to a point. Just like dynamite, they naturally exploded with each other, especially when combined with a powerful force. Pooh! A shocking penetrating force suddenly exploded and created endless waves. Haha, it's done. Ting Qingshan laughed and said, although this move is a bit sneaky, the spiral structure can rely on two lines to revolve around each other without touching each other. Ting Qingshan smiled faintly. According to the characteristics of the Vermilion Tiger Roar and the fact that it only required two types of power of the heavens and earth, Ting Qingshan modified it and created this move, Vermilion Metal Tiger Roar. Not only did the two types of power of the heavens and earth not consume any energy, but the penetrating force at the last moment increased slightly. Tianfeng Martial Immortal, didn't you ask me to challenge you? Ting Qingshan became more and more expectant. It was already late autumn on the 12th of August. In Tianfeng City, which had the coldest temperature in the entire Duanmu continent, it was even colder. Moreover, it snowed heavily today. Endless snowflakes fell from the sky like the feathers of a swan. The snow on the ground was high enough to reach one's thighs. Phew, phew, the cold wind howled and the snowflakes fell endlessly. Today, the second and third floors of the Rising Sun restaurant in Tianfeng City did not receive any guests. On the third floor, the dreamy Cloud Martial Immortal, who wore a black leather coat and carried a huge wolf-headed saber on his back, as well as his disciple, the great elder Mu Wang, Li Jun, Ting Shou, Yang Dong, Mu Yunji, and a few others gathered here. The heavens probably knew that there would be a battle between the apex martial artists today. Therefore, they sent down such a shocking snowstorm. The dreamy Cloud Martial Immortal sighed with emotion and smiled. Yes, it has been a long time since a battle between apex martial artists in Duanmu continent. Mu Wang exclaimed. Li Jun couldn't help but ask, why hasn't Qingshan appeared yet? We set off yesterday. Qingshan has a blue luan and can come anytime. The dreamy Cloud Martial Immortal smiled. Today was the day that Ting Qingshan challenged the Tianfeng Martial Immortal. Therefore, the dreamy Cloud Martial Immortal brought Li Jun and the others over. He was confident that with him here, the Tianfeng martial immortal would not harm the people around him. On the second floor of the Tianfeng Palace in the Hellion residence, there were only the Tianfeng martial immortal and the steel sword martial saint. Yes. Old Mu, why have you come to Tianfeng City? The Tianfeng martial immortal sat cross-legged and looked to the southeast, where the Rising Sun restaurant was located. Within a radius of 34 li, emptiness realm experts would be able to sense each other's presence. The Tianfeng martial immortal raised his head and looked to the sky. What's wrong, teacher? The steel sword martial saint asked, puzzled. The Tianfeng martial immortal's eyes flickered as he said, he is here. Him? The steel sword martial saint froze. At this moment, a deep and resounding voice instantly spread throughout the entire Tianfeng city. Hellion, didn't you ask me, Ting Qingshan, to come to Tianfeng City to challenge you? I am here. Do you dare to accept the challenge? Do you dare to accept my challenge? Do you dare to accept my challenge? Do you dare to accept my challenge? The voice resounded throughout Tianfeng City. Chapter 429. Just as Ting Qingshan's voice spread throughout Tianfeng City, almost instantly, the entire Tianfeng City seemed to have been ignited and exploded. Countless warriors and citizens rushed out of their warm houses onto the streets and onto the balconies. Even though the sky was covered in snow, everyone raised their heads and did their best to see the legendary fiery flame war god, Ting Qingshan. The blazing flame martial immortal is challenging the Tianfeng martial immortal? Where is he? I can't see him. The snow was too heavy. Only a few people in Tianfeng City, near the Hellion residence, could see him. Ting Qingshan, I didn't expect you to have the guts to challenge me. Since you want to humiliate yourself, I will fulfill your wish. A cold voice resounded throughout the entire Tianfeng City. This voice made people tremble involuntarily. The millions of people in Tianfeng City instantly determined that this was the voice of the Tianfeng martial immortal. The Tianfeng martial immortal was going to fight with the blazing flame martial immortal? Hurry to the Hellion residence. Hurry to the Hellion residence. Everyone in the entire Tianfeng City dashed madly toward the Hellion residence. For hundreds of years, there had never been a battle between two martial immortals. Perhaps they had sparred in secret, but to fight each other openly and for ordinary mortals to see was something that had never happened before. Being able to witness a battle between two martial immortals was enough to die. It was crazy. The entire Tianfeng City was crazy. In the Hellion residence, there were several tens of thousands of members of the Hellion clan and several tens of thousands of elite soldiers. Many people gathered on the 4 streets around the Hellion residence. All of them raised their heads to look at the blazing flame divine bird, which was engulfed in flames and was very eye-catching in the snow-white world. On the back of the blazing flame divine bird was a cold-looking young man holding a long spear. On the roof of the heavenly wind palace of the Hellion residence, a silver-haired man dressed in a black cloak looked up. He carried a black godly sword on his back. The 2 emptiness realm experts, one high in the sky and the other on the roof of the palace, stared at each other. Both of them wanted to kill the other. The Lord Martial Immortal will definitely win. Old Ancestor will definitely win. Tens of thousands of members of the Hellion family raised their heads and watched silently. From the white-haired elders to the young children, and even the infants in their parents' arms, they all watched this battle. A battle between peak war gods. It's about to begin. In the direction of the Rising Sun restaurant, the dreamy cloud martial immortal and the others smiled as they looked at the sky above the Hellion residence. Under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, Ting Qingshan and the Tianfeng martial immortal could clearly sense each other's aura in their respective domains. No wonder you dared to challenge me. You actually comprehended another Tao. Within his domain, the Tianfeng martial immortal could clearly sense that Ting Qingshan was like a huge ball of golden flames. The blazing flames and the sharp golden light caused the Tianfeng martial immortal to be shocked. Tianfeng martial immortal, what Tao did you comprehend? Ting Qingshan also noticed that the Tianfeng martial immortal was like a gloomy ball formed by countless silver and gray glows. The two of them observed each other for a moment, then, clang! The Tianfeng martial immortal unsheathed the black godly sword on his back as his eyes glowed. Haha! Hellion, eat my spear! Ting Qingshan suddenly leaped down from the back of the blue Luan and descended rapidly toward the Tianfeng Palace from a height of several hundred zhang. At the same time, his entire body was surrounded by golden light and flames. He looked like a meteor falling to the ground. Using the power of the heavens and earth, Ting Qingshan accelerated his descent. Rumble! He descended at a terrifying speed, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Roar! A tiger-like roar resounded. A long spear surrounded by golden flames pierced through the heavens and earth like a huge electric drill. With the momentum of falling several hundred zhang, it pierced toward the Tianfeng martial immortal with unparalleled momentum. The power of this spear immediately caused the tens of thousands of members of the Hellion clan to turn pale with fright. Screech! The Tianfeng martial immortal's expression was ferocious as he emitted a strange, high-pitched, and ear-piercing sound. A sword enveloped by a gray glow resisted the attack of the long spear with the momentum of tearing the heavens and earth. Bang! The earth rumbled. The Tianfeng martial immortal, who had been standing on top of the Tianfeng Palace, was smashed into 3 levels of the Tianfeng Palace and smashed into the ground, creating a terrifying hole. The aftermath of the terrifying attacks of the 2 Emptiness Realm experts instantly shattered the entire Tianfeng Palace. The Steel Sword Martial Saint, who had already reached the peak of the Martial Saint realm, fled in a sorry state. Everything within a radius of several zhang was reduced to ruins. Before the aftermath of the power of the heavens and earth, the walls of the courtyard were as fragile as tofu, collapsing and collapsing. The entire ground sank by 1 zhang. Smoke and dust filled the air, and even the accumulated snow was shaken away. The sound of the collision between the weapons of Ting Qingshan and the Tianfeng martial immortal caused many members of the Hellion clan to cover their ears in pain. They were dumbfounded. Regardless of whether it was the 100,000 people in the Hellion residence or the tens of thousands of people gathered outside the Hellion residence, they were all stunned when they heard the rumbling sounds. Was this a battle between martial immortals? In the past, the so-called wanderers killed their opponents with their swords and sabers, causing blood to splash 5 steps away. In front of a battle between martial immortals, this seemed so childish and insignificant. Ting Qingshan was also shaken by the frightening rebounding force, and was thrown several zhang upwards. The Tianfeng martial immortal is indeed very powerful. My vermilion metal tiger cannon carried the falling force, but it was actually blocked by him. As Ting Qingshan fell, he was astonished. Actually, the Tianfeng martial immortal could have dodged the attack. However, the Tianfeng martial immortal thought highly of himself and looked down on Ting Qingshan. Why would he dodge? Therefore, a direct confrontation between the strongest powers took place. Whoosh! On the ruined ground, the Tianfeng martial immortal, who was shrouded in a cold radiance, dashed out of the ground and stood on the ground. Ting Qingshan, I didn't expect you to reach 60% as well. The Tianfeng martial immortal's voice was cold. However, with one glance, Ting Qingshan noticed that under the radiance of the Tianfeng martial immortal's body, there were faint traces of blood on his robe. Hellion, I carried the falling force and executed this spear attack, but you actually dared to block it. Now, I'm afraid you are severely injured. Ting Qingshan's aura grew stronger. Their strongest attacks were similar. One fell from a height of several hundred zhang, while the other withstood the attack. It was needless to say who would be at a disadvantage. The Tianfeng martial immortal scanned the surroundings and said, "This Ting Qingshan is actually so powerful. Even if I defeat him today, I'm afraid the Hellion residence will be turned into ruins. More than half of the tens of thousands of clansmen will die. The Tianfeng martial immortal originally thought that he had the upper hand, so he accepted the challenge directly in Tianfeng City. However, it seemed that if the fight continued, the Hellion residence, which had a circumference of several li, would soon be turned into ruins. Haha, Ting Qingshan, I can't fight freely here. Let's go outside and fight. The Tianfeng martial immortal's voice was still echoing. His entire body instantly turned into a streak of ghostly light. His movements were swift and strange. Many clansmen of the Hellion clan blinked, and could no longer see the Tianfeng martial immortal's figure. Hellion, are you afraid? You are really fast at escaping. Ting Qingshan laughed loudly. Engulfed by the golden flames, Ting Qingshan moved one li with each step. Ting Qingshan's speed had already surpassed the description of the highest level of the crossing worlds, the world's end near at hand. Of the two great experts, one was escaping while the other was chasing. You said that I am escaping? The Tianfeng martial immortal, who had already left the Hellion residence and entered the east district of Tianfeng City, suddenly turned around. Following a strange arc, he instantly wrapped around Ting Qingshan. So fast! Ting Qingshan was astonished. He immediately turned his spear to defend against the Tianfeng martial immortal's swift and fierce sword. Phew! The Tianfeng martial immortal changed his direction again at an impossible angle. Drawing an arc, he circled behind Ting Qingshan. Using the trajectory of his movement, the power of the black godly sword in his hand instantly soared to its limit. Oh no! Ting Qingshan didn't have the time to use the vermilion metal tiger cannon. He could only defend with the transmutation unity law. In terms of defense, although the earth element fist was only at the 8th move, the metal element and fire element had already been mastered. However, in terms of defense, the transmutation unity law's defense was still superior even though it was only the 8th move. Clang! Ting Qingshan, who was unprepared, was like a meteorite. He fiercely smashed the wall of a rich family's mansion, and then smashed the rockery and a few houses. More than half of the mansion was destroyed in an instant. Ting Qingshan immediately turned over and stood up from the ruins. Ting Qingshan isn't injured? The Tianfeng martial immortal was astonished. Previously, above the Tianfeng palace, he collided with me head-on. Even with the protection of the power of the heavens and earth, my body was still shaken to the point that I vomited blood. This time, he was caught off guard. Logically speaking, he should be more injured. The body of an emptiness realm expert was too weak. Although the emptiness realm expert was nourished by the power of the heavens and earth, it was already considered good for him to have the strength of a few thousand jin. Ting Qingshan's body was already comparable to a godly weapon. Was he going to make Ting Qingshan vomit blood? Hellion, your dodging and maneuvering body art is really good. Ting Qingshan walked out from the rubble. His face was slightly red as he said, "However, it's useless against me now. Your dodging and maneuvering body art is obviously slower than mine. You were able to dodge one move. Let's see how many more moves you can dodge." The Tianfeng martial immortal's body instantly transformed into 7 or 8 streams of flowing light that wound around Ting Qingshan. Although it looked like 7 or 8 streams of flowing light, it was actually just one stream. However, the Tianfeng martial immortal's irregular dodging in a small area was too fast. Ting Qingshan had only created the 6th move of the water element fist. His swimming Pisces body art couldn't be compared to the Tianfeng martial immortal. It's useless. Ting Qingshan laughed loudly. He held the reincarnation spear in his hand and thrust it out with lightning speed. The strangest thing was that Ting Qingshan's arms could instantly attack at unimaginable angles like noodles. There was also Ting Qingshan's waist. Ting Qingshan's body could turn 360 degrees and reach its limit. Ting Qingshan's body was much more flexible than the ancient yoga grandmasters in Ting Qingshan's previous life. By relying on his body and arms, he could attack and defend at unimaginable angles. This made up for Ting Qingshan's weakness of slow dodging. Ting Qingshan was able to defend against every spear strike. Moreover, he could even threaten his opponent. The Tianfeng martial immortal transformed into a gust of black wind and circled around Ting Qingshan, attacking continuously. Everywhere the two of them passed by was turned into rubble. Emptiness Realm experts possessed an endless supply of the power of the heavens and the earth. Their true origin was endless, so they fought without any worries. The residences of wealthy clans, restaurants, and shops were all turned into rubble. The two martial immortals were like two gods fighting. This is bad. If this continues, how many people will die? Ting Qingshan roared and spun his body as he executed the toxic dragon drill. After forcing the Tianfeng martial immortal back, Ting Qingshan hastily executed his Qin Gong and appeared 1 li away in a flash. Hellion, let's fight outside the city. You are afraid and want to escape, right? The Tianfeng martial immortal chased after Ting Qingshan. While chasing, the two martial immortals fought. Rumble, the eastern city wall of Tianfeng City, suddenly trembled and wailed. A huge hole that was several zhang long appeared on the thick and tall ancient city wall. Countless crushed stones flew in all directions. Within Tianfeng City, the countless citizens who were watching the battle from the east saw the huge hole that was several zhang long in the city wall. Each and every one of them was dumbfounded. Boom, an earth-shattering sound came from outside the city. Outside the city! Quickly go outside the city. Many crazed cultivators wanted to see the pinnacle battle in their hearts. They recklessly executed their Qin Gong and dashed out of the city. Chapter 430. Quick, let's go outside the city. Madam Ting, you can rely on this flying demonic beast to travel. The dreamy cloud martial immortal and the grand elder, Mu Wang, leaped out of the window on the 3rd floor and dashed out of Windy City like two afterimages. Li Jun was also extremely anxious. She carried the big wooden box on her back and hastily said, Little Ping, Ah Dong, let's go first. Ah Shou, you go out of the city by yourself. With that, Li Jun, Fu Yuping, and Yang Dong mounted the whole Gale Eagle's back at the same time. Although the body of the whole Gale Eagle was big, it could accommodate 3 people. This was only because Li Jun and Fu Yuping were skinny, and Yang Dong was a youth. If it was Ting Qingshan or Ting Shou, the two of them would have occupied the entire back of Ting Qingshan. Phew, phew, the whole Gale Eagle flapped its wings and swiftly flew into the blizzard that filled the sky, flying towards the east. Ting Shou, who had reached the early stage of supreme force, leaped out of the restaurant. Like an agile monkey, he leaped onto the roofs of the buildings in the city. Ting Shou's speed was extremely fast. He raised his head and looked to the east. The Blue Luan is flying really fast. She only cares about watching the fight between teacher and the Tianfeng martial immortal. He wanted to ride the Blue Luan, but the Blue Luan had already flown outside the city. The east gate was wide enough for dozens of people to pass through side by side, but it seemed too narrow in front of the surging crowd. Many warriors, rangers, and residents of Tianfeng City even rushed out of the city through the huge hole in the city wall, which had been created by the battle between Ting Qingshan and the Tianfeng martial immortal. Where's Qingshan? Li Jun sat on the back of the whole Gale Eagle and tried her best to look at the ground outside the city. Due to the heavy snow, Li Jun's eyesight was not as good as Ting Qingshan's. Thus, she was unable to find the location of the battle between Ting Qingshan and the Tianfeng martial immortal. Blue Luan. With a glance, Li Jun saw the Blue Luan in midair, which looked like a ball of fire. If the Blue Luan is there, then Qingshan and the Tianfeng martial immortal must be in the region below. Li Jun, Fu Yuping, and Yang Dong, who were on the whole Gale Eagle's back, saw the horrifying scene below. Ting Qingshan was like a loach. Not only did he dodge like a loach, but his body was also as slippery as a loach. With a turn of his body, Ting Qingshan's arms were like two huge pythons, bursting forth with an astonishing force. The reincarnation spear pierced towards the Tianfeng martial immortal's abdomen from an unbelievable angle. Chi-Chi, the tip of the spear spun, and it was strong enough to pierce through a small mountain. Clang, the Tianfeng martial immortal easily parried the attack, and he even used the force of the attack to increase his speed. Humph! Moving like a ghost, the Tianfeng martial immortal transformed into a dozen residual shadows and entangled Ting Qingshan. As expected, only by fighting with an emptiness realm expert can I accurately discover my own weaknesses. Ting Qingshan was secretly delighted as he thought to himself, discover my own strengths and avoid my weaknesses. This way I can perform better. Ting Qingshan had already discovered many things in the short period of battle. The Tianfeng martial immortal's advantage was that he was fast and unpredictable. His body arts were also stronger than Ting Qingshan's, and his sword arts could instantly unleash a powerful attack. As for Ting Qingshan himself, his speed was not as fast as his opponent, and his body art was not as good as his opponent's. However, when his reincarnation spear executed the vermilion metal tiger roar, he was able to fight against his opponent. However, the time needed to use the vermilion metal tiger cannon was slightly longer. It wasn't like pursuing shadow or toxic dragon drill, which could be used instantly. However, he also had his merits. His body was extremely strong. Moreover, his body was extremely flexible and tough. In addition, he had succeeded in the fire elemental Dao and the metal elemental Dao. He also had some achievements in the water elemental Dao and the earth elemental Dao. With a strong body, one would not be afraid of a head-on clash. Every time the Tianfeng martial immortal clashed with the Tianfeng martial immortal, the terrifying counterforce was enough to injure him slightly. Ting Qingshan's flexibility made up for his lack of movement technique. Haha, Hellion, you have been in the emptiness realm for 200 years. Is this all you have? As Ting Qingshan fought with all his might, he used his words to attack the Tianfeng martial immortal. It must be said that Ting Qingshan's words really struck the Tianfeng martial immortal. The Tianfeng martial immortal's face turned cold. His heart was filled with anger and he was extremely unwilling to accept this. How did Ting Qingshan improve so quickly? It has only been a few months. A few months ago, on the Oxhead Mountain, I could easily toy with him without drawing my sword. However, it has only been a few months. The Tianfeng martial immortal had always thought that Ting Qingshan would need dozens of years to be able to threaten him. Moreover, his body is also very strange. Sometimes his entire body seems to have no bones. His dodging and attacks are also very strange. The Tianfeng martial immortal had a headache. He had never met someone with such a strange body. I originally wanted to take the opportunity to kill him today. However, I didn't expect that even defeating him would be so difficult. Resentment. He was unwilling to accept this. If this continues, Ting Qingshan will definitely become stronger. He will oppose the Tianfeng clan. In the future, the Tianfeng clan. The Tianfeng martial immortal became even more anxious. Clang. The two of them exchanged blows again. Haha, Hellion, eat my spear again. Like a prehistoric monster, Ting Qingshan suddenly leaped up and raised the reincarnation spear in his hand. It was as if the legendary Pangu was raising the splitting mountain axe. The strength of his entire body and the power of the heavens and earth instantly surged and enveloped Ting Qingshan, making Ting Qingshan look like a golden flame martial immortal. The spear smashed down. Humph! The Tianfeng martial immortal sneered and said, "He actually smashed his spear with the spear shaft? How stupid! Watch me break his spear shaft." Naturally, the penetrative power of the spear tip was the strongest. The Tianfeng martial immortal's godly sword, which was circulating with a dim glow, slashed out rapidly. Puff, 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 puff. The instant the shaft of the reincarnation spear smashed against the blade of the Tianfeng martial immortal's sword, the spear shaft's incredible toughness instantly burst forth with a violent vibration. A soft and strange force instantly passed through the divine sword to the Tianfeng martial immortal's right arm. Involuntarily, his entire right arm went limp. The Tianfeng martial immortal's facial expression changed drastically. He tapped the ground with his feet and immediately retreated. The silver and gray glows on his body vibrated rapidly, trying to eliminate this force. The metal element spear of the Xing E5 elemental spear, Splitting Mountain. Among Ting Qingshan's 5-element spear art, only Splitting Mountain was a move that utilized a soft force similar to hitting a cow through a mountain. It could instantly penetrate the external defense and attack the vital organs. Ting Qingshan had done this to deal with the 6-legged blade-like qi. Now that he had mastered the metal placenta Dao, Ting Qingshan had gained a new understanding of the move, Splitting Mountain. Xiao, the Tianfeng martial immortal, had already retreated 100 zhang away. As he stood in the snow, the Tianfeng martial immortal's face turned ghastly pale. Pfff. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of fresh blood. Haha, what do you think of this move of mine? Ting Qingshan laughed heartily. Simultaneously, he dashed towards the Tianfeng martial immortal like a bolt of lightning and brandished the reincarnation spear in his hand once again. Ting Qingshan, I want you to die! The Tianfeng martial immortal roared furiously. Suddenly, the endless snowflakes in the sky madly gathered towards the Tianfeng martial immortal. When the snowflakes had completely gathered, the area within 100 zhang around the Tianfeng martial immortal turned pitch black. The Tianfeng martial immortal's eyes were bloodshot as he held his sword with both of his hands. Die! The Tianfeng martial immortal dashed out. Ting Qingshan's facial expression changed. In terms of speed, he was no match for the Tianfeng martial immortal. You want me to die? Dream on. The thing that Ting Qingshan was least afraid of was fighting head-on. Taking a deep breath, Ting Qingshan felt the energy in his body surging. It was as if he was a volcano that was accumulating energy and was about to explode in an instant. At this moment of life and death, Ting Qingshan had a new understanding of the circulation of the vermilion tiger roar. Die! With a ferocious look on his face, Ting Qingshan bellowed angrily. The energy in his body instantly exploded like a volcano. The reincarnation spear in his hand suddenly twisted like a python struggling between life and death. Golden and red flowing lights instantly surrounded the spear shaft. A faint tiger roar could be heard. The clothes on Ting Qingshan's body swelled up and the veins on his forehead bulged. The tip of the reincarnation spear tore through the heavens and the earth as it pierced forward. While Ting Qingshan was desperately performing the vermilion metal tiger roar, the blue Luan, who was flying in the sky and observing the fight attentively, trembled slightly. Over the past few days, it had been watching Ting Qingshan practice the fire element fist every day. In addition, the blue Luan had a good comprehension of the fire element Dao. Every day it would watch and comprehend. Unknowingly, it had already reached the final threshold. Chi-Chi, the blue Luan's entire body suddenly ignited. The flames on the surface of her body were a terrifying purple color. The outer layer was black-purple, and the outer layer was black. The flames on the surface of the blue Luan's body became more and more vigorous, and the area it covered became larger and larger. The violent snowflakes in the sky evaporated before they could even approach her. The transformation of the blue Luan did not attract many people's attention. At this moment, there were only a few hundred people observing the fight between Ting Qingshan and the Tianfeng martial immortal. Most of the people were on their way here. Among the people observing the fight were the Dreamy Cloud martial immortal, Li Jun, and the others. Li Jun had already landed on the ground. Oh no! Seeing the Tianfeng martial immortal go berserk, the dreamy cloud martial immortal's facial expression changed. What's wrong? Li Jun became worried. The Tianfeng martial immortal is going all out. The dreamy cloud martial immortal stared into the distance and thought to himself, judging from what happened just now, he is obviously going to use some special technique. I reckon that it will harm his body and his spirit. However, his spirit actually swept up the snowflakes within a few li and gathered them within an area of 100 zhang. This is bad. Just as the dreamy cloud martial immortal finished speaking, boom, in the distance, the area that was covered by fire, golden, gray, silver, and many other streams of light exploded. A human silhouette was sent flying 2 to 3 miles away like a shooting star, while the other person was also sent flying several hundred feet away. Qing Shan. Li Jun was astonished. The person who was sent flying 2 to 3 li away was Ting Qingshan. At this moment, Ting Qingshan's face was pale and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Haha, Hellion, this move is really powerful. Can you do it again? Although Ting Qingshan's body was covered in blood, he laughed wildly as he flew away. His body was extremely strong. Even if he was injured, his recovery ability was extremely strong. Die. After using this move, the pale Tianfeng martial immortal spat out another mouthful of blood. He couldn't help but feel extremely angry. At this moment, Ting Qingshan raised his head and looked at the sky in astonishment. This isn't right. The Tianfeng martial immortal also felt that the snow in the surroundings had stopped. Even the temperature was rising. The accumulated snow on the ground began to melt slowly. The Tianfeng martial immortal also raised his head and looked at the sky. Not only the two martial immortals, but also the thousands of people who had gathered in the distance and the tens of thousands of people who were on their way also raised their heads and looked at the sky. A huge ball of fire that was 1 li wide was suspended in the sky. The surrounding snowflakes were all turned into nothingness. The closer the blazing ball of fire was to the center, the higher the temperature. The flames gradually turned white, black, and dark purple. In the deepest part of the ball of fire there was a huge divine bird that was enveloped in purple. Chapter 431. The Blue Luan. Ting Qingshan raised his head, unable to conceal the shock on his face. He could clearly feel the endless power of fire gushing into the huge fireball from all directions. The power of fire then fused into the body of the godly bird in the middle of the fireball. The godly bird bathed in flames was spreading its wings, and its body was changing continuously. It was growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. What is that? What kind of godly beast is that? Tens of thousands of warriors and citizens of Tianfeng City were dumbfounded. The huge fireball with a circumference of 1 li could be clearly seen even in Tianfeng City. Everyone, regardless of whether they knew about the Blue Luan or not, was in shock. Everyone could feel how terrifying this godly beast was from the huge fireball. Suddenly, screech, a resounding and excited screech resounded through the heavens and the earth. The undying phoenix flapped her wings in the flames, looking like a queen looking down at her citizens. The Blue Luan is the king of the bird-type demonic beasts. Ting Qingshan looked at the graceful undying phoenix in the sky, whose feathers had turned fiery red. The undying phoenix that it transformed into is even more powerful than an ordinary emptiness realm demonic beast. According to the records, it is one of the most terrifying godly beasts. I wonder how powerful the Blue Luan is now. Demonic beasts were different from humans. When human emptiness realm experts fought, the control of the spiritual power of the heavens and the earth was very important. However, emptiness realm demonic beasts were different. Although they could control the power of the heavens and the earth, their bodies would transform from Golden Dan innate demonic beasts to emptiness realm demonic beasts. The transformation of their bodies would have a great impact on their strength. For example, the demonic dragon Violet Rain didn't need to control the spiritual power of the heavens and the earth. It could kill over 10,000 soldiers with just a breath of cold air and freeze a group of innate experts into ashes. No matter how powerful an Emptiness Realm expert was, he couldn't kill over 10,000 soldiers with one move. There was a reason why Emptiness Realm demonic beasts were called godly beasts. It was because their life essence had transformed to a higher level. Even before Ting Qingshan reached the Emptiness Realm, his body could fight against a Golden Dan innate demonic beast. However, when he and the demonic beast reached the Emptiness Realm, Ting Qingshan's body did not improve at all. However, the body of the demonic beast would undergo an earth-shattering transformation. This was the difference between humans and demonic beasts. The heavens are fair. It bestowed upon the monster beasts a transformation of the level of life, endowing them with a long life. It also prevented them from becoming supreme experts. But humans could produce a supreme expert. Screech, along with a resounding cry that seemed to be announcing her birth, the huge fireball in the sky that had a radius of 1 li rapidly shrank and then completely fused into the Undying Phoenix's body. At this moment, the Undying Phoenix's appearance was completely revealed to the humans. His entire body was a fiery red, without a trace of other colors. His eyes faintly flickered with a red light and 7 colors, making people feel as if they had fallen into a dream. Fiery red feathers grew out of the top of his head like a crown. Even being stared at by the Undying Phoenix would cause people to feel immense pressure. This was spiritual oppression on the level of life. What kind of demonic beast is this? The Tianfeng martial immortal felt that something was amiss. For a moment, he did not think of the Blue Luan. After all, the Blue Luan's feathers and physique were completely different from the Undying Phoenix. Little Blue. Ting Qingshan smiled. Whoosh! In midair, the Undying Phoenix left behind a blurry streak of fiery light and then appeared beside Ting Qingshan. Chi-Chi, the snow under Ting Qingshan's feet instantly melted. So fast! Ting Qingshan was astonished. Little Blue's current speed is 2 or 3 times faster than my maximum speed. Too fast. After reaching the Emptiness Realm, Ting Qingshan's speed had become extremely fast. The speed of the Undying Phoenix could be said to be one of the best among the bird-type godly beasts. It was normal for the Undying Phoenix to be 2 or 3 times faster than Ting Qingshan. Screech, screech. The Undying Phoenix screeched a few times toward Ting Qingshan and then looked at the nearby Tianfeng martial immortal with a murderous glint in his eyes. Whoosh! Leaving behind a fiery red afterimage, the Undying Phoenix had already flown to a height of several zhang above the Tianfeng martial immortal. It opened its mouth and spat out a purple flame. When the purple flame flew out, it distorted the space around it. The Tianfeng martial immortal laughed angrily and said, "Evil creature, you are courting death." The Tianfeng martial immortal leaped up and held his sword, intending to kill the Undying Phoenix. However, when the purple flame touched the protective shield formed by the spiritual power of the heavens and the earth, Chi-Chi, the protective shield formed by the power of the heavens and the earth melted rapidly, as if it was dry wood encountering a raging fire. The Tianfeng martial immortal was so frightened that his facial expression changed drastically. He hastily controlled the power of the heavens and the earth to protect himself. Simultaneously, he plummeted to the ground at an extremely fast speed. However, because the Tianfeng martial immortal had jumped up, the Tianfeng martial immortal was slightly slower in dodging the purple flame. Ah! The Tianfeng martial immortal cried out in pain. Simultaneously, a ghostly sword shadow flashed by and the Tianfeng martial immortal's left arm was cut off at the elbow. The arm that the Tianfeng martial immortal had chopped off turned into ashes as soon as it fell to the ground. What kind of monster is this? The Tianfeng martial immortal turned into a ghostly shadow and fled rapidly. I can already control 50% of the power of the heavens and the earth. However, even with 50% of the power of the heavens and the earth, I can only block it for a moment. What kind of flame is this? Indeed, the Tianfeng martial immortal could only control 50% of the power of the heavens and the earth. However, he had attained the emptiness realm for 200 years and had created his own unique technique. He could use 50% of the power of the heavens and the earth to unleash 60% of the power of the heavens and the earth. Just like Ting Qingshan, the power of his vermilion metal tiger cannon had increased by 10%. No, this fast. The Tianfeng martial immortal had just fled when he realized that the undying phoenix had appeared in the sky again. She is so much faster than me. The Tianfeng martial immortal, who had always been proud of his speed, had a drastic change in his facial expression. He couldn't care less about anything else. His body was like a sharp awl as he dashed into the ground. Chi-chi, he left a hole in the ground and fled underground. At this moment, Ting Qingshan, the dreamy cloud martial immortal, and the others were watching the battle between the undying phoenix and the Tianfeng martial immortal. Although it was a battle, it was actually the undying phoenix chasing after the Tianfeng martial immortal. The flames of the undying phoenix were obviously very powerful. Even with 50% of the power of the heavens and the earth, Ting Qingshan could only block it for a moment. Qingshan. Li Jun ran to Ting Qingshan's side. Little Jun, this little blue is really powerful. The undying phoenix is indeed the undying phoenix. She has just reached the emptiness realm, yet she is already so powerful. Ting Qingshan couldn't help but praise. At the same time, he sighed with emotion. Demonic beasts were indeed superior to humans in some aspects. Did the Tianfeng martial immortal escape? Li Jun asked. Don't worry. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, Little Blue is now the undying phoenix, an emptiness realm demonic beast. It also has a domain. As long as it is within 34 li, it can easily locate the Tianfeng martial immortal. Do you think that Hellion can be 34 li away from Little Blue? The moment Ting Qingshan saw the speed of the undying phoenix, he even thought that the speed of an emptiness realm expert, even if he had reached emptiness realm culmination, would not be as fast as the undying phoenix. Chi-chi, the blue Luan's body was suddenly surrounded by a black flame that was 4 to 5 zhang long. Then, it dived down rapidly. The moment the black flame came into contact with the soil, sand and rocks, the rocks and the sand immediately turned into ashes. The blue Luan dashed underground at an astonishing speed. Nothing could stop her. The reason why it is difficult for an emptiness realm expert to kill another emptiness realm expert is that he can detect his opponent from 34 li away. Secondly, the emptiness realm expert can disturb the power of the heavens and earth in the surroundings, preventing the enemy from detecting the situation within 1 li. Thirdly, when the emptiness realm expert achieves the harmonization of the heavens and earth, the speed of the emptiness realm expert will be very close. Ting Qingshan knew this common knowledge. The emptiness realm expert relied on the power of the heavens and earth to detect his opponent. For example, Ting Qingshan could control the power of the fire elemental and gather it within 1 li of him, repelling the other power of the heavens and earth. Since there was no other power of the heavens and earth, the opponent would not be able to detect where Ting Qingshan was within 1 li. Of course, if the opponent also knew the fire elemental Dao or the metal elemental Dao, Ting Qingshan would not be able to confuse the opponent's senses. As for the harmonization of the body with the heavens and earth, it was the ultimate speed of the Qing Gong. The fastest speed that a human could achieve when using the body art to escape was not the help of the power of the heavens and earth. Instead, it was the merging of the body with the power of the heavens and earth, becoming a part of the power of the heavens and earth to achieve the ultimate speed. Usually, the ultimate speed of an emptiness realm expert was about the same. Unless someone had something special, they would be slightly faster. Bang! The Tianfeng martial immortal dashed out from underground. Ting Qingshan, if I die, let's die together? The Tianfeng martial immortal dashed madly towards Ting Qingshan with a ferocious expression. While escaping, the Tianfeng martial immortal realized that he was slower than the undying phoenix underground. Underground, he was slower than the undying phoenix. Above ground, he was slower than the undying phoenix. In the sky? Needless to say, he couldn't fly. Therefore, the crazed Tianfeng martial immortal decided, even if I die, I will drag Ting Qingshan down with me. I have lived for almost 400 years. That's enough. The Tianfeng clan has a strong foundation. Even if I die, the clan may decline. However, if an emptiness realm expert appears in the future, the clan will still prosper. The crazed Tianfeng martial immortal was extremely fast. Hellion, you want to kill me? Ting Qingshan smiled. Die. The Tianfeng martial immortal's facial expression changed drastically. He could sense that the undying phoenix was already above his head. Phew, the purple flames instantly engulfed the Tianfeng martial immortal. This time, the undying phoenix flew above the Tianfeng martial immortal's head and spat out flames at a close distance. The Tianfeng martial immortal dashed underground, but the ground had already been burned into nothingness. The Tianfeng martial immortal had nowhere to run. Roar! In the purple flames, the Tianfeng martial immortal howled in pain. His howl resonated throughout the heavens and earth. Then, the Tianfeng martial immortal, who was unwilling to give up, finally turned into ashes. Even his black godly sword was continuously melting in the purple flames. The Tianfeng martial immortal was dead. Too fast, too fast. Nearby, the dreamy cloud martial immortal wore a solemn expression as he stared fixedly at the undying phoenix. The undying phoenix's speed is so fast. If one is weaker than the undying phoenix and is targeted by it, one will definitely die. If one cultivates the Tao of fire, it might be easier to defend against its flames. I reckon that, if one can control 70 to 80% of the power of the heavens and earth, one will be able to defend against the flames spat out by the godly beast. The dreamy cloud martial immortal also felt the threat of death. Fortunately, it is on Qingshan's side, the dreamy cloud martial immortal thought to himself. Mu Wang, the dreamy cloud martial immortal suddenly said. Teacher. The great elder Mu Wang, who was at the side, recovered from the shock of the Tianfeng martial immortal's death. The dreamy cloud martial immortal cast a glance at the members of the Hellion clan, who were in shock and disbelief. He instructed in a low voice, Mu Wang, the Tianfeng martial immortal's death is witnessed by so many people. The Tianfeng clan is in trouble. They will definitely move their treasures and try to keep a low profile. Now we must find the treasures that the Tianfeng clan has kept for over 1,000 years. Yes, teacher. Mu Wang's eyes lit up. P.S. 2 chapters completed. For the sake of Little Blue's transformation into the godly beast, the undying phoenix, brothers, throw in your monthly votes. Chapter 432. 1,000-year-old treasure. No matter how calm Mu Wang was, he couldn't help but feel his heartbeat quicken. Duanmu continent was filled with endless wars and hundreds of clans contending for hegemony. As the saying goes, no clan could prosper forever. Therefore, all the great clans in the world had a backup plan and were prepared to make a comeback. For example, the Fu clan of the godly Axe Mountain could survive for 6,000 years because they had all kinds of preparations. They could make the clan prosper again after hundreds or even thousands of years. The Tianfeng clan was now the #1 clan in the entire Duanmu continent, a clan that had been powerful for more than 1,000 years. They would also leave a way out for themselves. If a clan wanted to make a comeback, It was necessary to have all kinds of treasures, secret manuals, and amazing wealth. The Tianfeng clan dominates the northern frosty region. As the #1 clan in the world, how amazing would their 1,000-year-old treasure be? Mu Wang couldn't help but feel his blood boil. The Tianfeng martial immortal is dead. Although the Tianfeng clan has many soldiers, they don't have the martial immortal. They don't have the right to monopolize the entire northern frosty region. The dreamy cloud martial immortal said in a deep voice, the Tianfeng clan would never think that their martial immortal would die. The treasure is most likely in the Hellion residence. Let's go to the Hellion residence immediately. Immediately, the dreamy cloud martial immortal and Grand Elder Mu Wang disappeared into the crowd in a flash. After the undying phoenix burned the Tianfeng martial immortal to death, it floated in the air and let out a carefree and excited cry. The cry was loud and clear, shocking everyone. The tens of thousands of people watching this scene were completely convinced by the undying phoenix. Many of them were even scared silly. Especially the people of the Hellion clan. Almost everyone's eyes were wide open and filled with disbelief. They couldn't believe that their martial immortal had died just like that. Ha ha! Ting Qingshan laughed heartily and walked towards the undying phoenix. Li Jun, Ting Shou, Yang Dong, and Fu Yuping followed beside him. Little Blue. Ting Qingshan walked over and shouted with a smile. The undying phoenix turned its head, and a hint of surprise flashed in its eyes. As if it had teleported, it appeared beside Ting Qingshan and the others. Little Blue, you are so powerful. Li Jun couldn't help but stroke the undying phoenix's feathers. The flames on the surface of the undying phoenix's body were completely restrained. At the same time, it let out a series of cries towards Li Jun. Qingshan, Little Blue said she is very grateful to you for helping her reach the emptiness realm and transform into the undying phoenix, Li Jun said with a smile. Ting Qingshan sighed and said, Thank me? Without it, it would be impossible to kill the Tianfeng martial immortal. So, we have to thank Little Qing properly. Li Jun also emitted a cry towards the undying phoenix, Little Blue. The undying phoenix lowered her head and gently touched Ting Qingshan to express her gratitude. Almost all the emptiness realm experts in the world had comprehended the Tao, but they couldn't describe the Tao. However, Ting Qingshan was able to completely express his Tao through his fist art. The internal martial arts was originally a cultivation through practicing fist art. Naturally, Ting Qingshan transformed his comprehension of the Tao into a fist art. Ting Qingshan frowned and turned to look behind him. What is Brother Mu doing? He could clearly sense that the aura of the dreamy cloud martial immortal was leaving rapidly. With bloodshot eyes, the steel sword martial saint, Hellion Haoyan, rushed towards Tianfeng City at an astonishing speed. How could this be? How could teacher die? How could he die? The steel sword martial saint could clearly hear the discussions of the tens of thousands of spectators. He felt even more pained. No, teacher is the martial immortal. He shouldn't die. He shouldn't die. The steel sword martial saint would always remember the words of his teacher. Haoyan, as long as you reach the emptiness realm and achieve the harmonization of the spirit with the heavens and the earth, then the harmonization of the body with the heavens and the earth, even if you are weaker than the other martial immortals, they won't be able to kill you. After achieving the harmonization of the body with the heavens and the earth, the speed of the emptiness realm experts would be equal. Even if someone was slightly faster, he could change his direction without any rules. One should know that an emptiness realm expert could travel 1 to 2 li in a flash. The sudden change of direction would also catch the pursuers unprepared. As long as the difference in speed was not too great, the enemy would not be able to kill the emptiness realm expert. Unfortunately, this time, the Tianfeng martial immortal encountered the undying phoenix. The undying phoenix was the king of the bird-type demonic beasts. Its speed was much faster than ordinary bird-type godly beasts. The speed of the undying phoenix was 2 times faster than his. The difference was too great. Moreover, the flames of the undying phoenix were not some kind of technique. The undying phoenix's flames covered the entire sky. There was no way to dodge them. I have to live. I have to run 34 li away from the dreamy cloud martial immortal, and the blazing flame martial immortal, and hide carefully. When I reach the emptiness realm, there will be hope for the Tianfeng clan to prosper again. The steel sword martial saint's heart was in pain, but his mind was clear. Without the Tianfeng martial immortal, the Tianfeng clan would definitely be divided among the great clans of the world. Among them, the Mu clan was the most ruthless. Helian Haoyan. An aged voice sounded. Phew. A blurry figure appeared before the steel sword martial saint and solidified. It was the dreamy cloud martial immortal, who carried a huge wolf-headed saber on his back. Dreamy cloud martial immortal. Seeing the person before him, the steel sword martial saint's face turned pale. He squeezed out a smile and said, Dreamy cloud martial immortal, what are you doing? Helian Haoyan, you should know what I want to do. The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled and said, Tell me, where are the hidden treasures of the Helian clan? When the steel sword martial saint heard this, he understood that he had no way out today. He couldn't help but laugh wildly and said, Old man Mu, you want to covet the hidden treasures of the Helian clan? Haha. Dream on. Don't even think about killing me. The Helian clan will prosper again in the future. Before the steel sword martial saint could finish his words, a poochie sound could be heard as a saber light slashed across the steel sword martial saint's neck. A blood-stained head flew into the air. The eyes of the head were still filled with madness. You're really courting death. The dreamy cloud martial immortal shook his head and smiled. The steel sword martial saint was the Helian clan's most likely to reach the emptiness realm. Of course, he couldn't let the steel sword martial saint live. Just when the dreamy cloud martial immortal was about to leave, suddenly, whoosh! The power of the heavens and the earth vibrated slightly, and a figure appeared beside the dreamy cloud martial immortal. It was Ting Qingshan. Qingshan, the dreamy cloud martial immortal shouted with a smile. Old brother Mu, where are you going? Ting Qingshan glanced at the corpse of the steel sword martial saint on the ground. In this chaotic world, even the Tianfeng martial immortal could be killed. It wasn't surprising for a martial saint to be killed. Ting Qingshan completely understood that the 2 strongest clans in Duanmu continent, the Mu clan and the Helian clan, were secretly competing with each other. Of course, the Mu clan would take the opportunity to kick a person when he was down. Qingshan, Helian is dead, and the steel sword martial saint is dead. How could the Tianfeng clan dominate the entire northern frosty region without a top-notch expert? The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled and said, Moreover, the death of the Tianfeng martial immortal, Helian, was witnessed by thousands of people. The Tianfeng clan couldn't hide it even if they wanted to. Therefore, the Tianfeng clan would definitely transfer the clan's hidden treasures immediately. Hidden treasures? Ting Qingshan immediately understood. When he first came to Duanmu continent, the Lu clan of the Dark Steel River, which was massacred on the island, still had so much gold. Even the Fu clan, who had been obsessed with gold for thousands of years, was able to train 1,000 divine blade guards. As for the Tianfeng clan, the #1 clan in the world, it had dominated for over 1,000 years. How astonishing were its treasures! Qingshan, how about we search together? The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled and said, If we don't go today, it will be difficult to find it in the future. All right. Ting Qingshan nodded with a smile. Let's see who finds it first. The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled and said, The treasure belongs to whoever finds it. If the undying phoenix hadn't been born, the dreamy cloud martial immortal wouldn't have said this. However, after witnessing the terrifying strength of the undying phoenix, Ting Qingshan's position in the dreamy cloud martial immortal's heart rose rapidly. Haha, alright. Let's see who finds it first. The figures of Ting Qingshan and the dreamy cloud martial immortal disappeared at the same time and entered Tianfeng City. As the core of the Tianfeng clan, the Hellion residents had never been in such chaos for over 1,000 years. Everyone was panicking. Ever since the news of the Tianfeng martial immortal's death spread, the Tianfeng clan's members, who used to be arrogant, had their strongest reliance crumble. Especially the discovery of the corpses of the steel sword martial saint, Hellion Haoyan, the clan patriarch, Hellion Haofan, and a few other important figures. This caused the clan to sink into unprecedented chaos. The heavy snow had stopped. On the roof of a palace in the Hellion residence, Ting Qingshan and the dreamy cloud martial immortal stood side by side. Mu Wang stood to the side. Where is the treasure hidden? The dreamy cloud martial immortal frowned and asked. Brother Mu, didn't we find a location just now? Ting Qingshan smiled faintly. The dreamy cloud martial immortal frowned and shook his head. No. Very few people know about the most important treasure of a clan. Perhaps only the Tianfeng martial immortal knows. Perhaps only the Tianfeng martial immortal, the steel sword martial saint, and the clan patriarch know. Hellion Haoyan and Hellion Haofan, who were killed, didn't say anything. As for the other elders, only one of them begged for mercy. However, the location he mentioned should be an ordinary treasure of the Tianfeng clan. The elders wouldn't know about the real treasure. A cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. The Tianfeng clan must have hidden many treasures. The Tianfeng clan didn't expect to collapse. Therefore, most of the treasures should be somewhere in the Hellion residence. The dreamy cloud martial immortal said in a deep voice, however, we can't find them. An emptiness realm expert had a domain. However, a domain could only detect the aura of life. Some inanimate objects such as wood and axes couldn't be detected. It must be very difficult to find the hidden place of the treasure. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, after all, there are many treasures here. For example, the 9 lotus seeds that were snatched from me last time. Brother Mu, I will leave first. Ting Qingshan's eyes brightened. With a flash, he appeared far away and shouted, Little Blue. Teacher, what does Qingshan want to do? Mu Wang was slightly surprised. The dreamy cloud martial immortal looked at Ting Qingshan's back in confusion and didn't say anything. Ting Qingshan raised his head and looked at the undying phoenix diving down. He immediately leaped 50 to 60 zhang high and landed on the back of the undying phoenix. Qingshan, did you find the treasure? Li Jun asked. No. Ting Qingshan looked at Li Jun with a smile and said, Little Jun, give me the wooden box on your back. Li Jun opened the huge wooden box on her back. Inside was a splitting mountain axe, a dark blaze rod, and many small jade boxes. Among them was the jade box that contained the dreamy cloud white fruit. These were the things that Ting Qingshan valued the most. He didn't feel safe leaving them in the east flower garden of the dreamy cloud ancient city. Therefore, he asked Li Jun to carry them. Qingshan, what are you doing? Li Jun was puzzled. Looking for the treasure. Ting Qingshan smiled and picked up the dark blaze rod. When he mentioned the 9 lotus seeds, Ting Qingshan remembered. The 9 lotus seeds are the core of the blazing flame red lotus. I used the dark blaze rod to find the blazing flame red lotus. Therefore, it should be possible to use the dark blaze rod to find the 9 lotus seed. The 9 lotus seeds are extremely precious and must be among the most important treasures of the Tianfeng clan. If I can find the 9 lotus seeds, I will find the treasure. Dark blaze rod, it's up to you. With the dark blaze rod in his hand, Ting Qingshan leaped down from the back of the undying phoenix and descended towards the chaotic Hellion residence. Chapter 433. Seeing Ting Qingshan falling from the sky, the dreamy cloud martial immortal and Mu Wang were very puzzled. What is Ting Qingshan doing? The dreamy cloud martial immortal observed, and saw Ting Qingshan holding the dark blaze rod as he flashed around the Hellion residence like a phantom. Within 2 breaths, Ting Qingshan seemed to have determined a place. He stopped and plunged into the ground. Mu Wang and the dreamy cloud martial immortal were shocked. "Teacher, did Brother Ting find the treasure?" Mu Wang couldn't believe it. How could Ting Qingshan find the treasure when he was running around randomly? "It seems like he found it." The dreamy cloud martial immortal wasn't sure either. "Let's go and take a look." Immediately, the dreamy cloud martial immortal and Mu Wang rushed towards the treasure. Just as I expected, Ting Qingshan held the dark blaze rod as he plunged into the ground. The 9 lotus seeds are the essence of the blazing flame red lotus. They can indeed cause the dark blaze rod to change. Feeling the dark blaze rod getting hotter and hotter, Ting Qingshan easily determined the direction. Suddenly, a grayish-black rock wall appeared in front of him. Ting Qingshan lightly patted with his palm, and the hard rock suddenly shook. Then, it turned into powder and flowed down, revealing a hole that was as tall as a person. Ting Qingshan then walked through the hole and entered the underground secret room. A dim light from an everlasting lamp illuminated the entire secret room. "This is the treasure that the Tianfeng clan has been collecting for 1,000 years?" Ting Qingshan gasped. At the end of the secret room were piles of gold that looked like bricks. The huge amount of gold could be seen everywhere like cheap sand and stones. Aside from the huge amount of gold, various treasures could be seen on the ground. Aside from the treasures, armors and weapons were also arranged neatly. At first glance, there were hundreds of them. They are all top-grade armors. Ting Qingshan stood beside a metal box and grabbed a jade box. The heat from the dark blaze rod told him that there were 9 lotus seeds hidden in the jade box. Ting Qingshan opened the jade box and saw lotus seeds that were as black as jade neatly placed inside. Ting Qingshan revealed a smile as he closed the jade box and placed it in his bosom. "Tianfeng martial immortal, Tianfeng martial immortal, you snatched the blazing flame red lotus from me. Today, I relied on the 9 lotus seeds to find the great treasure of the Tianfeng clan. You snatched it from me back then. Should I hate you or thank you now?" Ting Qingshan also felt the impermanence of fate. Without the 9 lotus seeds, Ting Qingshan and the dreamy cloud martial immortal would not be able to find such a well-hidden treasure. "Gold and the like are useless to me." Ting Qingshan looked at the armors and touched them. They were very cold. They are all cold steel heavy armors. A set of armor weighs at least a few hundred jin. However, now that I have the fiery gilt steel, I don't need this kind of armor. Ting Qingshan glanced at the weapons, armors, and money before his gaze landed on the metal boxes. "Qingshan, haha. You are really powerful. You actually found it for me." A loud laughter sounded. "Brother Ting." Ting Qingshan turned his head and smiled. The dreamy cloud martial immortal and Mu Wang walked into the secret room. When they saw the shocking wealth in the huge secret room, the dreamy cloud martial immortal and Mu Wang couldn't help but be shocked. "This is the heavenly wind cold steel, a treasure unique to the Tianfeng Canyon." The dreamy cloud martial immortal touched the armors and exclaimed, "There are actually nearly 600 sets of heavenly wind cold steel heavy armors. Without the fiery gilt steel, the cavalrymen equipped with heavenly wind cold steel heavy armors would definitely be the best cavalrymen." In terms of sturdiness, the heavenly wind cold steel was slightly inferior to the fiery gilt steel, but it was extremely heavy. There are probably millions of jin of gold here. The dreamy cloud martial immortal stared at the end of the secret room, unable to determine how thick the gold was. "Qingshan, this is the 1,000-year-old treasure of the Tianfeng clan. Haha, according to our agreement, it belongs to whoever finds it. These are all yours." The dreamy cloud martial immortal laughed. The great elder Mu Wang couldn't help but glance at his teacher. Ting Qingshan was secretly shocked as he thought to himself, "The dreamy cloud martial immortal is actually able to restrain his greed after seeing these treasures. If transportation was convenient, Ting Qingshan would even want to transport all these treasures to the land of the 9 prefectures. However, the 6-legged blade-like cheese body was only so big. Carrying the fiery gilt steel was already its limit. As for the undying phoenix, Little Blue, its body was about 4 zhang long, and the area on its back was even smaller. It could carry even less. Qingshan, with these, I think, there will be a Ting clan in the Duanmu continent in the future. The dreamy cloud martial immortal said with a smile. However, he sighed inwardly. It wasn't that he wasn't greedy, but he knew that since the two of them had already set the rules. Moreover, with the undying phoenix and Ting Qingshan, the dreamy cloud martial immortal wouldn't dare to be domineering. Ting clan? Ting Qingshan shook his head and said, Elder Brother Mu, I have no ambition for the Duanmu continent. As for these treasures, I don't want any gold, armor, or weapons. They all belong to the Mu clan. I will only take some spiritual treasures of the heavens and earth that can change one's aptitude, increase one's inner strength, and improve one's spirit, as well as some secret manuals. This. The dreamy cloud martial immortal and Mu Wang were astonished. Spiritual treasures of the heavens and earth? Aside from the 3 great spiritual treasures, the Mu clan had many other spiritual herbs and spiritual fruit. Moreover, these spiritual herbs and spiritual fruits were of little use to the Mu clan. As for the secret manuals, the Mu clan inherited the Thunder Blade deity, Duanmu Yu, an omnipotent expert. Thus, the Mu clan didn't care about the secret manuals of the Tianfeng clan. Qingshan, I can't accept this. The dreamy cloud martial immortal hastily said, compared to these armors, weapons, gold, and precious treasures, I can't accept them. Those spirit treasures are nothing. Only the 9 lotus seeds, the heavenly wind water bead, and the dreamy cloud white fruit are valuable. Brother Mu. Ting Qingshan smiled indifferently. To tell you the truth, I'm not from Duanmu continent. What? The dreamy cloud martial immortal and Mu Wang were astonished. Old Brother Mu, I'm actually from a continent called the 9 prefectures. That's where my hometown is. In addition, the godly axe god Yu the Great is also from our side. Ting Qingshan did not conceal it. In fact, there was no point in concealing it. After all, the distance between the 9 prefectures and Duanmu continent was too great. Even a Golden Dan innate expert would be in danger when crossing the North Sea. Only the emptiness realm experts could cross the river. The land of the 9 prefectures? The dreamy cloud martial immortal and Mu Wang were completely stunned. In the 9 prefectures there are billions of people. The number of experts is as numerous as the clouds. The number of emptiness realm experts is far greater. Ting Qingshan shook his head and sighed emotionally. According to my estimation, there are more than 20 emptiness realm experts in the entire 9 prefectures. If each prefecture had 3 emptiness realm experts, there would be 27 in the 9 prefectures. If each prefecture had 2 emptiness realm experts, there would be 18 in total. Ting Qingshan did not believe that the ancient Emperor Yu's Hall, the Qinling clan, and the most powerful Mani Temple could produce less emptiness realm experts than Yangzhou. If the many islands in the East Sea, the kingdoms in the western region, and the tribes in the Great Prairie were included, how many emptiness realm experts would there be? For example, the mysterious Heavenly God Palace was a hidden super sect. It could be said that the situation in Duanmu continent was very clear, but the land of the 9 prefectures was filled with turbulent undercurrents. The waters were very deep. 20 emptiness realm experts? The dreamy cloud martial immortal gulped. Mu Wang was even more shocked. Compared to the land of the 9 prefectures? It was only comparable to 1 prefecture in the land of the 9 prefectures. That's just my conservative estimate. Ting Qingshan's eyes were misty as he said, I know too little about the land of the 9 prefectures. I will only know how many emptiness realm experts there are when I return. The dreamy cloud Martial Immortal and Mu Wang were completely stunned by this news. It turned out that they thought that they were the #1 clan in the world, but they were actually just frogs in a well. However, don't worry. The land of the 9 prefectures is tens of thousands of li away from here. Even emptiness realm experts would not be so bored as to travel across tens of thousands of li of sea. Ting Qinshan smiled and said, Brother Mu, if you want to go to the land of the 9 prefectures, you can head south for tens of thousands of li and reach the land of the 9 prefectures. Tens of thousands of li? He sighed at the great distance and heaved a sigh of relief. At the very least, it was impossible for the great powers of the land of the 9 prefectures to invade. After searching in the secret room for a while, Ting Qinshan carried 2 big metal boxes out. One of the metal boxes contained various treasures of the heavens and the earth. The other metal box contained the 5 stone inscriptions of the 36 splitting mountain forms. What made Ting Qinshan the happiest was that besides the 9 lotus seeds, he also found 3 drops of the Tianfeng water pearl. 1 drop of the Tianfeng water pearl could clear all the meridians in the body of the person who consumed it and increase the strength of the person's body to 100,000 jin. His eldest disciple, Ting Shou, had reached the Grandmaster realm, but his strength was only 100,000 jin. Almost all of the higher-ups of the Tianfeng clan had died. Just the fight for the position of the patriarch had caused chaos in the clan. With the power of the dreamy cloud Martial Immortal and the great power of the Rising Sun Trading Company, they easily took away the hidden treasures of the Hellion clan. Only the gold caused the dreamy cloud Martial Immortal and the Rising Sun Trading Company to expend a lot of effort. August 13th, the second day after the death of the Tianfeng Martial Immortal, in the East Flower Garden of the Rising Sun City in the Dreamy Cloud Ancient City. Old Brother Mu, there's no need to send me off, Ting Qinshan said with a smile. The Dreamy Cloud Martial Immortal sighed. Although Ting Qinshan hadn't been in Duanmu continent for a long time, he had left behind many legends in Duanmu continent. Whether it was the title of the most powerful martial saint, the burning of the army at Oxhead Mountain, or the battle with the Tianfeng Martial Immortal, Duanmu continent would forever remember this expert. Old Brother Qinshan, I also yearn for the land of the 9 prefectures. The dreamy cloud Martial Immortal sighed, it's lonely. I have no opponents in Duanmu continent. An expert is lonely. However, I am still worried about the Mu clan. I will wait until Mu Wang reaches the emptiness realm. When Mu Wang reaches the emptiness realm, I will probably go to the land of the 9 prefectures. The dreamy cloud Martial Immortal smiled as he looked at Ting Qinshan. Qinshan, when I go to the land of the 9 prefectures, you have to show me around the land of the 9 prefectures. It would be best if I could make a great achievement in the land of the 9 prefectures. Creating a world in the land of the 9 prefectures was 10 or even 100 times more difficult than creating one in Duanmu continent. Haha, alright. However, since you are here, you will have to help me conquer the world. Ting Qinshan joked. It's okay. I am already over 400 years old. It's worth it to be able to fight against some emptiness realm expert. The dreamy cloud Martial Immortal laughed while Mu Wang, who was beside him, looked envious. Compared to the vast land of the 9 prefectures, Duanmu continent was indeed too small. Old Brother Mu, we will leave first. Soon, Ting Qinshan and the others rode on the undying phoenix and the whole gale eagle and flew eastward. They looked at the distant horizon and saw the shadows of Ting Qinshan and the others leaving. The land of the 9 prefectures. The dreamy cloud Martial Immortal murmured. He yearned for the land of the 9 prefectures. That is the place where emptiness realm experts should stay. Riding on the undying phoenix, Ting Qinshan and the others first arrived at the Fu clan. They returned the stone inscriptions of the 36 splitting mountain forms. Fu Yuping really couldn't bear to leave the clan and go to the distant land of the 9 prefectures. Therefore, she took the 72 splitting earth forms that Ting Qingshan gave her and stayed in the Fu clan. The 72 splitting earth forms was perfected by Ting Qingshan and could be considered a top-notch axe art. To the Fu clan, the 36 splitting mountain forms, which they couldn't understand, was not as effective as the 72 splitting earth forms. When Fu Dao saw the 72 splitting earth forms, he was extremely excited and grateful. Senior Emperor Yu, this can be considered as compensation for your bloodline, Ting Qingshan said to himself. In the sky above the godly axe mountain, the huge body of the six-legged blade-like Qi was flying above the clouds. Its huge body was carrying 3 wooden boxes tied up. Even the whole Gale Eagle was perched on its back. Beside the 6-legged blade-like Qi was the undying phoenix. Ting Qingshan and the others were all on the back of the undying phoenix. Roar, the 6-legged blade-like Qi roared continuously. Qingshan, it's very unhappy. It even said that it won't sleep anymore, Li Jun said with a smile. It's because it's lazy. Ting Qingshan laughed and said, the blue Luan reached the emptiness realm and became a godly beast. However, the 6-legged blade-like Qi sleeps every day and doesn't even watch me practice fist art. It has nothing to do with me if it can't reach the emptiness realm. When Ting Qingshan and the others entered the godly axe mountain, the 6-legged blade-like Qi was shocked when it saw the undying phoenix. Especially when it found out from Li Jun that the blue Luan had become the undying phoenix, the 6-legged blade-like Qi, who dreamed of reaching the emptiness realm, was furious. It also wanted to reach the emptiness realm. Therefore, it decided that it wouldn't sleep anymore. It would watch Ting Qingshan practice fist art every day. Ah Shou, Ah Dong, once we go to the land of the 9 prefectures, I'm afraid that we won't be able to return to Duanmu continent in this lifetime. It's not too late to regret now, but when we fly far away, it will be too late. Ting Qingshan looked at the 2 disciples behind him. Although Ting Qingshan wanted Ting Qingshan and Yang Dong to go with him, if they wanted to stay, he wouldn't mind. It was a good thing for Ting Shou to spread the branch of internal martial art in Duanmu continent. I will follow, teacher, Ting Shou said in a deep voice. Duanmu continent? I don't want to stay here. Yang Dong was even more straightforward. The 2 disciples had no attachment to Duanmu continent. Qingshan, we are going back to the land of the 9 prefectures. It's been a long time. Li Jun's eyes were misty. Suddenly, a pink blush flashed across her face. Qingshan, if your parents see me, an ugly daughter-in-law would eventually have to see her parents-in-law. Li Jun felt nervous when she thought of that scene. Haha, father and mother will be very happy. Ting Qingshan held his wife's hand and looked to the south. Therefore, Ting Qingshan brought his wife, his 2 disciples, the whole Gale Eagle, the emptiness realm godly beast, the undying phoenix, and the 6-legged blade-like Qi, which was only 1 step away from the emptiness realm, to the land of the 9 prefectures. Of course, there was also the fiery gilt steel, the 9 blazing lotus seeds, the 3 drops of Tianfeng water beads, and countless secret manuals and treasures of the heavens and the earth. 9 prefectures, I am coming. Father, mother, I will see you soon. Looking to the south, Ting Qingshan's heart had already gone to the land of the 9 prefectures, to Jiangning County, to the land that he dreamed about. There were his family, his friends, and his clan. P.S. 2 chapters completed. 8th chapter completed. It finally ended. The 9th chapter, Qingshan's return. Tomato had always dreamed of this day. However, he had to type it word by word. The 8th chapter ended. Tomato would rest for a day tomorrow to prepare for the 9th chapter. The day after tomorrow, Tomato would update the 9th chapter, Qingshan's return. Qingshan's return. Everyone, use your monthly tickets to welcome Qingshan's return. Chapter 434. Above the azure sea, amidst the clouds and mist, the enormous demonic beast, the 6-legged blade-like Qi, and the godly beast, the undying phoenix, were flying towards the south. Phew, the cold wind in the clouds was blocked by the soaring flames on top of the undying phoenix's head. Ting Qingshan and the others on the undying phoenix's back could barely feel the strong wind. When I first went to Duanmu continent, I had to rely on myself to pull the iron chain in order to allow the entire tungsten wood vessel to cross the chaotic sea. It took a lot of effort. Ting Qingshan sat on the back of the undying phoenix as he turned his head to look towards the north. He smiled and said, "Now that we have returned to the 9 prefectures, in less than a day, we have already flown nearly 10,000 li, easily passing through this chaotic region. The journey was difficult, but the return journey was easy and quick." "Teacher, dragging the ship through the sea region just now?" Yang Dong, who was sitting next to Ting Shou, asked in shock. "This is nothing. The Bright Moon Island's 9 Nether Ghost Sea is even harder to pass than this chaotic sea region." Suddenly, she looked at Ting Qingshan. "Qingshan, you haven't forgotten about Phoenix Island, right?" "Of course, I still have to get the grass of immortality. How could I forget?" Ting Qingshan was filled with anticipation. On the way back, he would definitely go to Phoenix Island. At that time, Little Qing's mother, the Undying Phoenix, had told him that as long as he could help Little Qing reach the void stage, she would become the Undying Phoenix. If he spent more than 100 years, the Undying Phoenix would give him a grass of immortality. If it was less than 100 years and more than 10 years, it would be given 3 stalks of grass of immortality. If Shaoqing became an Undying Phoenix within 10 years, then all 9 grass of Undying would be given to him. In 3 short years, Shaoqing broke through and became an Undying Phoenix. Her mother is probably going to give me all 9 stalks of Undying grass. Thinking about the effects of the Undying grass, Ting Qingshan's anticipation grew. "Teacher, grass of Undying? Can I not die after eating it?" Ting Shou asked doubtfully. Ting Qingshan sat high on the phoenix's back and said with a smile, "Ah Shou, this grass of immortality is one of the best spiritual herbs in the world. It was even superior to the 3 great spiritual treasures of Duanmu continent. Each stalk of undying grass had 7 leaves and a 7-colored halo. Once consumed, no matter how serious an injury is, it can be healed." "Huh? Isn't this the same as the dreamy cloud white fruit?" Yang Dong asked in surprise. Li Jun hastily said, "It's not the same. The dreamy cloud white fruit can allow people to regrow limbs, but the grass of immortality can't. However, the grass of immortality has another effect. Once consumed, it can increase one's lifespan by 200 years. 200 years! Yang Dong and Ting Shou were astonished. Putting aside the miraculous effect of the grass of immortality that could cure people, just the fact that it could increase one's lifespan by 200 years was enough to make people go crazy. The higher one's position was, the longer one wanted to live. The grass of immortality was equally important to the 8 great sects of the 9 states. For example, some Golden Dan innate experts, who were close to 200 years old, might have already touched the edge of Tao and almost reached the emptiness realm. However, 200 years was the limit of an inborn expert. If the Golden Dan innate experts could cultivate for another 200 years, most of the Golden Dan innate experts would be able to reach the emptiness realm. The Tao is boundless, but the lifespan of humans is limited. Ting Qingshan sighed and said, "The top 10 experts of the heavenly ranking of the land of the 9 prefectures all have hopes of reaching the emptiness realm. However, most of them have reached the limit of their lifespan and can only die. If they were given another 200 years, even if they were given another 100 years, they would still be able to reach the emptiness realm." This was the true charm of the grass of immortality. It allowed people to exceed the limit of their lifespan and live for another 200 years. This was enough to make the grass of immortality the #1 spiritual treasure in the world. Even the 3 great spiritual treasures of Duanmu continent were slightly inferior to it. In the past, Little Blue's mother said that there was once a human expert who understood the language of beasts who flew to Phoenix Island. All for the sake of obtaining a stalk of grass of immortality. Ting Qingshan sighed and said, to be able to fly in the sky, it was obvious that he had reached emptiness realm culmination. He might even be an insightful emptiness realm expert. As for the island where Phoenix is located, ordinary people probably don't know about it. An emptiness realm expert spent a lot of effort to find the location of Phoenix. Then, he flew nearly 10,000 li and found an island in the boundless sea to ask for a stalk of grass of immortality. Ah Dong, Ah Shou, you too should know the importance of the grass of immortality. Ting Qingshan looked to the south and said, in the land of the 9 prefectures, I have only heard of the legend of the grass of immortality. It has been a very long time since anyone has seen the grass of immortality. The more Ting Qingshan understood how precious the grass of immortality was, the more excited he became when he thought about the fact that 9 stalks of grass of immortality were about to fall into his hands. After all, only the undying phoenix could cultivate the grass of immortality. Little Blue's mother had spent thousands of years and only managed to cultivate 16 stalks. Now there were only 9 left. On the 6th day of the 6-legged blade-like Chi and Little Blue's flight, the undying phoenix, Little Blue, emitted a loud and clear cry. Its cry was filled with excitement. Ting Qingshan, who was meditating cross-legged on the back of the phoenix, opened his eyes in surprise. Li Jun, who was beside him, said excitedly, Qingshan, Little Blue said that her home, Phoenix Island, is in front. We're finally here. Ting Qingshan was overjoyed. If Ting Qingshan were to search for Phoenix Island, although he had been there once, the sea was boundless. Back then, Ting Qingshan had headed north in a general direction. It would be extremely difficult to find Phoenix Island. However, with Little Blue, who had lived on Phoenix Island since she was young, it was naturally easy to find Phoenix Island. Teacher, have we arrived? Ting Shou stood up excitedly. We have arrived in the 9 prefectures? Yang Dong interrupted. There are still a few more days before we arrive in the 9 prefectures. Phoenix Island is in front, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Phew, the 2 enormous demonic beasts, the 6-legged blade-like Chi and the undying phoenix, dove down from the clouds. Soon, the island surrounded by the sea appeared in their vision. It's really it. Phoenix Island. Ting Qingshan and Li Jun both stood up. Whoosh! The undying phoenix instantly descended several hundred zhang. Then, it slowed down and slowly landed on the island. Ting Qingshan, Li Jun, Ting Shou, and Yang Dong each carried a metal box and a bundle as they leaped down from the back of the undying phoenix. The 6-legged blade-like Chi also landed on the island. This is Phoenix Island? Where is the phoenix? Yang Dong's eyes brightened. Screech, the undying phoenix, Little Blue, raised her head and emitted a resounding screech. Then, she soared into the sky. Screech, an even louder screech came from the center of the island. The screech was filled with excitement and happiness, as if a mother had seen her son and daughter return. In the distance, a fiery red figure tore through the sky and flew over at an astonishing speed. Then, it stopped in the sky in front of Ting Qingshan and the others and emitted a series of screeches towards the undying phoenix, Little Blue. The undying phoenix, Little Blue, was about 4 zhang long. Its feathers were all fiery red, without a trace of other colors. Little Blue's mother looked almost the same as the undying phoenix. The only difference was that Little Blue's mother's body was slightly larger than Little Blue's. Her body was almost 5 zhang long. Looking at the 2 undying phoenixes together in the sky, Ting Qingshan and Li Jun both smiled. A mother and her child have met. This scene was indeed moving. What a powerful aura! Ting Qingshan could clearly feel the 2 powerful auras within his domain. If the undying phoenix, Little Blue, was a blazing ball of fire, Then the aura of Little Blue's mother was like the morning sun. She didn't feel any heat at all. Her aura was completely restrained. However, even if she didn't explode, Ting Qingshan still felt fearful. He believed that Little Blue's mother was enough to scorch the earth. Little Blue entered the Tao through the fire element and became the undying phoenix. Her mother had followed the poetic sword god, Li Taibai, and had long since reached emptiness realm culmination. How powerful would the undying phoenix, a godly beast that has reached emptiness realm culmination, be? Ting Qingshan felt fearful just thinking about it. Little Blue was able to kill the Tianfeng martial immortal even though it was her first breakthrough. If Little Blue continues to comprehend the metal elemental Tao, the earth elemental Tao, and the other 4 Taos, Ting Qingshan came to a conclusion. Little Blue's mother should be stronger than a human who has reached emptiness realm culmination. Phew! Phew! 2 fiery red afterimages flashed, and the 2 undying phoenixes appeared in front of Ting Qingshan and the others. Screech, screech, the undying phoenix, Little Blue, emitted a cry. Screech, screech, Little Blue's mother also emitted a cry of joy. She looked at Ting Qingshan with a gaze filled with kindness. After hearing this, Li Jun hastily said, "Qingshan," Little Blue's mother said, "that you were able to help her child reach the emptiness realm within 3 years. Moreover, she entered the Tao through the fire element. She is very grateful to you. Moreover, she also congratulated you for stepping into the emptiness realm in just a few years. Little Blue's mother is quite courteous." Ting Qingshan smiled. At the side, Little Blue's mother was still speaking. "Qingshan," she also said, "that she will keep her promise. You have done very well, even exceeding her expectations. She will give you all the 9 undying grass she has now." Li Jun revealed a joyful expression and hastily said, "Qingshan, let's quickly get on Little Blue's back and head into the valley." "Yes." Ting Qingshan and Li Jun immediately leaped up and mounted the undying phoenix's back. "Ah Shou, Ah Dong, stay here with the 6-legged blade-like chi first. We will be back in a while," Ting Qingshan instructed. The undying phoenix, Little Blue, emitted a cry and soared into the sky with her mother, Little Blue, towards the Phoenix Mountain Valley. In the valley, Fugue, the undying phoenix, swooped down, stirring up a gust of strong wind that caused the surface of the lake to tremble. Whoosh! Little Blue's mother landed on the branch of the fiery parasol tree king. There was a huge phoenix nest on the thick branch of the tree king. After Little Blue's mother flew into the nest, she picked up a small grass that glowed with a 7-colored halo with her sharp beak. Then, she transformed into a fiery red afterimage, and flew in front of Ting Qingshan and Li Jun. Little Blue's mother lowered her head and opened her mouth. The 9 small grasses fell to the ground. The undying grass. A mature undying grass. Ting Qingshan looked at the 9 undying grass on the ground and couldn't help but hold his breath. Screech, Little Blue's mother emitted a cry, and the undying phoenix, Little Blue, also cried out happily. Li Jun's face was full of joy as she said, "Qingshan," Little Blue's mother said that from now on, these 9 undying grass are yours. She wants you to keep them well. Ting Qingshan bowed slightly to Little Blue's mother to express his gratitude. He then picked up the 9 stalks of grass of immortality and took out an empty jade box from the bag on his back. This jade box was prepared by Ting Qingshan to contain the grass of immortality. He carefully placed the 9 stalks of grass of immortality into the jade box and sealed it. "These 9 undying grass are mine." Ting Qingshan placed the jade box into the bundle. Chapter 435. Screech, screech. Seeing that Ting Qingshan had accepted the grass of immortality, Little Blue's mother emitted a cry. After that, she called out to the undying phoenix beside her, "Little Blue." Li Jun revealed a shocked expression. "What's wrong?" Ting Qingshan asked. "Qingshan," said Little Qing's mother. "We can leave now." Li Jun was a little anxious. She asked little Qing to build a new nest with her. What? Ting Qingshan was startled. Little Blue's mother means to let Little Blue stay here and let us leave? Yes, that's what I mean. Li Jun was a little anxious. Ting Qingshan's expression changed drastically. After the blue Luan transformed into the undying phoenix, it possessed astonishing strength. After returning to the land of the 9 prefectures, Ting Qingshan was naturally unwilling to be ordinary. In his plan, the undying phoenix, Little Blue, was a very important helper. If Little Qing didn't go with him, he would suffer a great loss. Qingshan, what should we do? Li Jun was also caught unprepared. There's no other way. Ting Qingshan calmed down and shook his head. Although Little Qing said that she would go to the 9 prefectures with us, if she listened to her mother's instructions and stayed on this island and didn't go to the 9 prefectures with us, she wouldn't have gone to the 9 prefectures. We can't do anything about it. When it came to the undying phoenix, they could only let it do something voluntarily. Screech, 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 the undying phoenix, Little Blue, looked at her mother with dissatisfaction and cried out. Qingshan, Little Qing said that she wants to go with us, Li Jun said, pleasantly surprised. Immediately, Little Blue's mother became somewhat dissatisfied. Little Blue's mother and the undying phoenix continuously cried out to each other. However, their cries were very pleasant to hear. Little June, what are they talking about? Ting Qingshan couldn't understand at all. Little Qing said that she wants to go to the 9 prefectures with us. She also said that she hasn't been to 9 prefectures and that it's boring to live on the island. Li Jun said as she listened. Little Qing also said, Qingshan, your fist art is amazing, and you have also comprehended the metal elemental Tao. It will be much easier to comprehend the metal elemental Tao by following you. Ting Qingshan also became nervous. Whether the undying phoenix, Little Blue, would follow him or not was something that could only be decided by Little Blue and her mother. Outsiders could not interfere. Suddenly, Little Blue's mother stopped. She turned her head to look at Li Jun and called out softly. Eh? Li Jun was a little surprised and responded with a chirp. A moment later, Li Jun revealed a trace of disappointment, and Little Blue's mother and Little Blue also stopped quarreling. What's wrong? Ting Qingshan had a bad feeling. Qingshan. Li Jun smiled helplessly. I have good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? Tell me the bad news first. Ting Qingshan's heart was in his throat. Little Qing and her mother have come to an agreement. Little Qing has agreed to her mother's words. We're going to the 9 prefectures, but Little Qing won't go with us. Ting Qingshan's expression changed slightly when he heard this. The undying phoenix, Little Blue, was actually not following him to the 9 prefectures. Forget it, I'll respect Little Qing's choice. Ting Qingshan sighed inwardly. Li Jun continued, the good news is, Little Blue's mother left Little Blue behind because she wants to impart to Little Blue some ultimate skills that she can use after becoming the undying phoenix. These are ultimate skills that are unique to the undying phoenix. The same power of the heavens and the earth, and flames are different when used differently. Phoenix ultimate skills? Ting Qingshan understood. Just like how using the toxic dragon drill and vermilion tiger roar was more powerful than foolishly stabbing with a spear. Little Blue's mother had lived for several thousand years and had even followed the omnipotent expert, poetic sword god Li Tai Bai. She had received the guidance of an omnipotent expert and had comprehended for several thousand years. Naturally, she had a set of ultimate skills. Little Blue's mother said that the 9 prefectures is too dangerous. She absolutely wouldn't allow a child who had just become the undying phoenix to go to the 9 prefectures right now. After Little Blue debated with her, Little Blue's mother took a step back and agreed. After Little Blue learns the Phoenix ultimate skills and has the power to protect herself, she will let Little Blue go to the 9 prefectures to find us. Li Jun revealed a smile. Ting Qingshan heaved a sigh of relief inwardly. It turned out that after Little Blue learned the Phoenix ultimate skills, she would go to the 9 prefectures. The 9 prefectures is very dangerous? Ting Qingshan suddenly came to a realization. How fast was the undying phoenix? To the undying phoenix, the 9 prefectures was very dangerous? Little June, ask Little Blue's mother where the 9 prefectures are dangerous, Ting Qingshan hastily said. Li Jun nodded and immediately asked Little Blue's mother. Little Blue's mother looked at Ting Qingshan and then let out a melodious chirp, answering Li Jun's question. Hearing this, Li Jun's facial expression changed drastically. What's wrong? Ting Qingshan hastily asked. Qingshan, Li Jun said solemnly. Little Blue's mother said that the 9 prefectures is the core of the heavens and earth, and there are many powerful emptiness realm demonic beasts. Although Little Blue was the king among the bird-type godly beasts, there were still many terrifying emptiness realm demonic beasts that had lived for thousands of years in the land of the 9 prefectures. Some of them were even terrifying emptiness realm demonic beasts that had lived for thousands of years before Emperor Yu's tribe. Currently, Little Blue's flying speed was even faster than several emptiness realm culmination demonic beasts. There are many emptiness realm demonic beasts that are stronger than Little Blue. Ting Qingshan understood that there were 2 emptiness realm demonic beasts in the Great Yen Mountain. How many emptiness realm demonic beasts were there in the land of the 9 prefectures? There was no way to be sure. After all, if the emptiness realm demonic beasts were not disturbed, some emptiness realm demonic beasts might be hiding somewhere. For example, the demonic dragon Violet Rain. Emperor Yu's Hall and Mani Temple might not even know that the demonic dragon Violet Rain was in the Great Yen Mountain. And the rulers of the 9 prefectures are not demonic beasts, but humans. Emptiness realm demonic beasts rarely provoked human sections. That's because there are some extremely terrifying experts in the 8 great sects, Li Jun said solemnly. Little Blue's mother also admitted that the human expert who came to ask for the grass of immortality last time was one of the strongest experts in the 9 prefectures. In terms of strength, even Little Blue's mother believed that it would be difficult to defeat the opponent. Li Jun's words caused Ting Qingshan to be greatly shocked. Little Blue's mother was a bird-type godly beast that had attained emptiness realm culmination. There was actually a human that made Little Blue's mother admit that she couldn't defeat the opponent. Little Blue's mother also said that in the 9 prefectures, there are many emptiness realm human experts who like to subdue weak emptiness realm demonic beasts. It would be very dangerous for Little Blue to go to the 9 prefectures now. Only after learning her ultimate technique will she have the confidence to protect herself, Li Jun said solemnly. Qingshan, Little Blue's mother also wants to remind you not to underestimate the various great sects of the 9 prefectures. The more ancient a sect is, the more unfathomable its strength is. For example, the Wan Xiang sect. Li Jun said in a deep voice. What? Ting Qingshan was shocked. The Wan Xiang sect? The Wan Xiang sect that only recorded the experts of the world? It was also said by the undying phoenix that its strength was unfathomable? In the 9 prefectures, the status of the Wan Xiang sect was far inferior to the 8 great sections. It was only good at doing business. I'm so stupid, Ting Qingshan suddenly realized. If the Wan Xiang sect doesn't contend for hegemony in the world, it might not be able to provoke the 8 great sections. However, the Wan Xiang sect has businesses all over the world, and its wealth is endless. Even if the 8 great sects don't covet it, wouldn't the other slightly inferior sects covet it? However, the Wan Xiang sect has survived for thousands of years. How could it be as simple as it seems? Even my Gui Yuan sect can hide an emptiness realm expert. How could the world be as simple as described in the books? Cold sweat seeped out of Ting Qingshan's forehead. The waters of the 9 prefectures were indeed very deep. I still have to thank Little Blue's mother. Ting Qingshan redefined himself. Even the heavenly God Palace is so powerful, but before I came into contact with it, I didn't even know of its existence. How many powerful forces are secretly hiding in the 9 prefectures? However, I shouldn't underestimate myself. I have already stepped into the emptiness realm, and my strength is comparable to that of the Tianfeng martial immortal. Even if I can't stir up a storm in the entire 9 prefectures for now, just Yangzhou alone is enough. Ting Qingshan hastily asked Li Jun, "Little June, ask Little Blue's mother how long it will take for Little Blue to learn the supreme skill of the phoenix?" Li Jun turned and asked. Qingshan, Little Blue's mother said that it will take at least half a year, and at most 1 year, Li Jun answered. Ting Qingshan nodded. That's good. This 1.5-year period is just the right time for me to familiarize myself with the true face of the 9 prefectures. With my current strength, I can only make some moves in secret. It's not the time to stir up a storm wantonly. When my Earth Elemental Tao makes another breakthrough, Little Blue will learn the supreme skill of the phoenix, and the 6-legged blade-like Qi will make another breakthrough. If my teacher, Zhuge Yuanhong, makes another breakthrough and reaches the emptiness realm, Ting Qingshan thought carefully and felt very confident. It's only interesting when there's a challenge. Ting Qingshan's eyes flickered as he thought to himself, I have endured for many years, brought so many treasures, and occupied such a great advantage. I am in the dark, and they are out in the open. If I lose to Qinghu Island again, I might as well commit suicide. Screech, the undying phoenix, Little Blue, faced Ting Qingshan and Li Jun and emitted a cry. Qingshan, Little Blue asked us how she will find us after she goes to the 9 prefectures. Li Jun looked at Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan froze and asked, It's not familiar with the 9 prefectures. Even if we tell it, it won't know. Screech, Screech, Little Blue's mother also cried out. Li Jun revealed a hint of joy. Qingshan, Little Blue's mother said that when the time comes, she will send Little Blue over. Little Blue's mother is very familiar with the 9 prefectures. She said that when the time comes, she will set a fire on the Heavenly Cloud Mountain, one of the 9 prefectures, and burn half of the Heavenly Cloud Mountain. Then, they will stay there for 10 days to half a month, waiting for you, Qingshan. Heavenly Cloud Mountain? Okay. Ting Qingshan nodded. A great fire broke out on the Heavenly Cloud Mountain. I will immediately rush over. After making such an agreement, Ting Qingshan and Li Jun could only bid farewell to the undying phoenix, Little Blue. Then, Ting Qingshan and the others could only ride the 6-legged blade-like Qi and rush to the 9 prefectures. As for the undying phoenix, Little Blue, under the guidance of her mother, had learned the phoenix supreme technique that her mother had comprehended for thousands of years and the poetic sword god's guidance. If Ting Qingshan and the others wanted to meet Little Blue, they could only wait for a year and a half, when the Heavenly Cloud Mountain was set on fire. The 6-legged blade-like Qi's strength was astonishing. It flew for 2 days and only rested for half a day. It flew past many islands, including the Bright Moon Island. On the 9th day after leaving the Phoenix Island, Qingshan, look! Li Jun's face was full of joy. It's huge. Yang Dong and Ting Shou also looked southward in shock. At the end of the ocean, a boundless coastline that stretched to the end appeared in the south. Although there was still a distance between the 6-legged blade-like Qi and the 9 prefectures, the 6-legged blade-like Qi's flying speed was astonishing. In just a short while, the 6-legged blade-like Qi flew from the ocean to the sky above the Great Prairie. After flying for 15 days, the 6-legged blade-like Qi finally arrived. The 6-legged blade-like Qi swooped down excitedly and glided along the prairie. Ting Qingshan sniffed the fragrance of the soil and the smell of the prairie's weeds. His expression was complicated and his eyes were filled with tears. This is the Great Prairie of the 9 prefectures. I am finally back. P.S. 2 chapters completed. When I called for the monthly votes, I rushed to the 2nd place. My brothers are really too powerful. In order to welcome Ting Qingshan to the 9 prefectures and his return to his homeland, let's throw in the monthly votes. How to vote for the monthly votes? Just click recommend the author for monthly votes below. Chapter 436. The Great Prairie. Li Jun felt a myriad of emotions welling up in her heart. Blade-like Qi, let's go. Ting Qingshan patted the 6-legged blade-like Qi roar. The 6-legged blade-like Qi immediately let out an excited roar and rapidly ascended into the sky. Sitting on the back of the 6-legged blade-like Qi, Ting Qingshan looked down at a certain tribe of the Great Prairie that had many yurts gathered in the distance. In the past, when he walked across the Great Prairie and comprehended the Earth Element Fist, he had begged for food and water in many prairie tribes. That ascetic life was still fresh in his mind. Teacher, is this your hometown? Yang Dong looked down and exclaimed, there are so few people in this prairie. How big of a grassland would it take to have a population of several billion? Jiuzhou is really big. Yes. Ting Shou also nodded. Adong, Shou. Ting Qingshan looked to the south and said with a faint smile, this prairie is only the north of the 9 prefectures. Teacher's hometown is in the center of the 9 prefectures, the most flourishing place, Yangzhou. However, with the 6-legged blade-like Qi's speed, it should arrive at Yangzhou by this time tomorrow. Ting Qingshan turned to look at Li Jun. Little Jun, huh? Li Jun looked at Ting Qingshan in confusion. Are we going to Yangzhou or the God of Heaven Mountain? Ting Qingshan asked. In his heart, Ting Qingshan did not want to expose his whereabouts when he returned this time. However, the Heavenly God Palace was his wife's sect. If his wife, Little Jun, really wanted to visit her sect, Ting Qingshan wouldn't stop her. Although the Heavenly God Palace was unwilling to expose its whereabouts, the Heavenly God Palace was a great sect that was in hiding. It would not leak its whereabouts. No, let's go to Yangzhou. Li Jun smiled and shook her head. She understood what Ting Qingshan meant. Don't you want to see your master? Ting Qingshan asked with a smile. There's no hurry. Li Jun smiled. The core of the Heavenly God Palace is in the land of the 9 prefectures, not the Great Prairie. The God of Heaven Mountain is merely a branch of the Heavenly God Palace. Although the God of the God of Heaven Mountain is my elder, he is not my master. My master lives in Qingzhou of the 9 prefectures. Ting Qingshan suddenly understood and nodded his head. In the palace of Heaven God there were 2 people who were close to Li Jun. One was the female master who saved her and taught her the method of cultivation. The other was the king of beasts, Wu Ho, who taught her the language of beasts. Whoosh, high up in the sky, above the clouds, the 6-legged blade-like Qi flew southward at an astonishing speed. On the 12th of August, Ting Qingshan fought with the Tianfeng martial immortal. On the 13th day of the 8th month, Ting Qingshan and the others rode on the undying phoenix and the 6-legged blade-like Qi, leaving Duanmu continent. On the 28th day of the 8th month, after flying for half a month and crossing tens of thousands of li of the sea, Ting Qingshan and the others finally arrived at the northern coastline of the Great Prairie of the 9 prefectures. After that, the 6-legged blade-like Qi spent more than a day flying across the Great Prairie. Along the way, the 6-legged blade-like Qi rested for 2 hours. Then, it flew past Yenzhou and Yuzhou in one breath and arrived in the sky above Yangzhou in the afternoon of the 2nd day. So many people, so many people! The Yu city that I saw just now was really big. It was even bigger than our Nanshan city. Ting Shou and Yang Dong looked down from the clouds and sighed emotionally. However, Ting Qingshan and Li Jun were discussing. Qingshan, we have arrived at Yangzhou. What should we do now? Li Jun asked. Ting Qingshan looked down with misty eyes and said, actually, what I want to do the most now is to see my parents, my teacher, my sister, Little Yu, and the members of the Ting clan. Eager to return home, this was how Ting Qingshan felt at this moment. After fleeing for almost 4 years, he had finally returned. However, I know that we can't see them now. Ting Qingshan's eyes were deep and serene as he said in a deep voice, during the battle at the Great Yen Mountain, because of my sabotage, Qing Hu Island lost more than half of its innate experts. 12 died, and only 9 are left. With such a great loss, Qing Hu Island will definitely want to kill me. It can be seen from the fact that they chased me all over the world to kill me. Maybe it has been a long time, and they are no longer chasing me all over the world. However, they are monitoring the Gui Yuan sect, the Ting clan, and secretly searching for me all over the world. They will definitely do it. Ting Qingshan was very clear about this. Li Jun nodded and said, "Yes, Qing Hu Island has indeed been looking for you. When you fled to the Great Prairie, Qingshan, Qing Hu Island is still looking for you. I don't care about the other people of Qing Hu Island except for one person, the legendary blind sword master who has reached emptiness culmination." Ting Qingshan's eyes were sharp as he said solemnly, "Now, I am still not a match for the blind sword master. Therefore, I cannot return to the Gui Yuan sect openly. After all, when Zhao Danshan and 3 Golden Dan innate experts of Emperor Yu's hall were chasing me in Wu City, Yuzhou, I managed to escape. At that time, I even fought with Zhao Danshan. He must have thought that I have reached the Golden Dan innate realm. An 18-year-old Golden Dan innate expert. I think the Island Lord of Qing Hu Island and the Blind Sword Master will never forget my existence," Ting Qingshan said coldly. There was no doubt about this. If his enemy, such as Qing Hu Island, had an 18-year-old Golden Dan innate expert, he wouldn't be able to feel at ease. How could he feel at ease if he didn't kill such a genius? Moreover, I have already reached the emptiness realm. Ting Qingshan shook his head and said, "If the blind sword master of Qing Hu Island knows that I have reached the emptiness realm, a 21-year-old emptiness realm expert? Haha! This has never happened in the history of the land of the 9 prefectures. I'm afraid that the blind sword master will be so scared that he won't even dare to sleep. He will destroy me at all costs. Even if the other sects know that there is a 21-year-old emptiness realm expert, even if they don't attack me, they probably won't help me. Geniuses would be praised by everyone. However, if one surpassed the category of genius, then he would be a monster." "I understand." Li Jun took a deep breath. "Therefore, I have to hide my identity for now. I can only make arrangements in secret, meet my parents, and contact my teacher." Ting Qingshan sighed and then smiled. "Now that I have reached the emptiness realm, my spirit has merged with the metal elemental and the fire elemental. My aura has changed greatly. Even the god of heaven mountains, god of heaven mountains, god of heaven wouldn't dare to recognize me. The blind sword master and the others have never seen me before, let alone recognize me." Ting Qingshan was very confident. In the past 3 to 4 years, especially after he reached the emptiness realm, his spirit had merged with the metal elemental and the fire elemental. As a result, Ting Qingshan's aura had changed drastically. As for his appearance? In the past 4 years, Ting Qingshan's appearance had changed slightly. As long as Ting Qingshan used some tricks, he would be able to make people unable to recognize him. "What do we do now?" Li Jun asked. "The first thing is to get money." Ting Qingshan lowered his head and looked at the vast land of Yangzhou. "Only with money can we get things done." Asterisk 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 Ting Qingshan strolled around the Shuyang County city of Yangzhou alone. The base of Qing Hu Island in Shuyang County was the county governor's mansion. With Ting Qingshan's methods, he plundered the county governor's mansion of Shuyang County in less than an hour. Then, he left quietly with a bundle. On the morning of the 30th of August, Yangzhou, Nanxing County City, Ting Qingshan and his wife, Li Jun, were dressed in luxurious clothes. Their appearances had changed slightly, making them look like the sons of wealthy families. They stood in front of a luxurious mansion. Beside them were 7 people. One of them, a slightly plump, yellow-clothed elder, smiled and said, "Master Li, the decorations in my mansion are all new. It was just renovated 2 years ago. If it wasn't for the fact that I urgently need money for business, I wouldn't have been willing to sell this mansion in Nanxing County." Master Li, Master Wang's mansion is considered one of the best in our Nanxing County. The middleman said with a smile, "If it wasn't urgent, why would the price be so low? Master Li, if you miss this opportunity, it will be difficult to find such a good place again. You sure know how to talk." Ting Qingshan smiled and glanced at the middleman. "How about this? 120,000 taels of silver in cash. That's the price. If you agree, we will sign the contract today. I will pay the silver." The yellow-clothed elder laughed and said, "Master Li is really good at bargaining." "Good. Since Master Li is so straightforward, then let's settle the price. 120,000 taels of silver." The middleman at the side also revealed a happy expression. Although he had to pay most of the money to the county governor's mansion, he still earned a lot. Just like that, the deal was done. All the maidservants and guards in the mansion stayed. However, that night, Ting Qingshan slightly modified the entire mansion. He tore down the walls of one of the courtyards and flattened it, turning it into a large martial arts training field. He also ordered that no maidservants or guards were allowed to enter the inner courtyard of the mansion. Anyone who disobeyed would be beheaded without mercy. Where did our master come from? Who knows? I heard that our Master Li bought this mansion and paid for it in cash without batting an eyelid. 2 guards were patrolling inside the mansion. At the same time, they discussed in low voices. Just now, Xiao Chui forgot the rules and actually walked toward the inner courtyard. When she reached the entrance of the inner courtyard, she was kicked out by that beast-like man. Fortunately, her life was saved. After Ting Qingshan slightly modified the Li mansion, Ting Qingshan and the others usually lived in the inner courtyard. The outer courtyard was where the maidservants and guards lived. Ting Qingshan and the others usually went to the garden in the outer courtyard to have their meals. In the inner courtyard of the Li mansion, the martial arts training field occupied an extremely wide area. There was even a huge pit in the corner of the training field. The pit was slightly built to block the wind and rain. A huge and ferocious demonic beast, the 6-legged blade-like Qi, was lying in the pit and sleeping. Every day, when Ting Qingshan practiced in the martial arts training field, it would open its eyes and watch carefully. In a quiet room beside the martial arts training field, Li Jun and Ting Qingshan were both sitting cross-legged. "It's done. Qingshan, this blazing flame-red lotus seed is too miraculous. My Dantian has already produced the first innate true origin." Li Jun opened her eyes in surprise and said to Ting Qingshan. When Ting Qingshan heard this, he couldn't help but reveal a smile. Little June, among the 42 people in Duanmu continent who used the lotus seed, 41 of them reached the innate realm. Only one person didn't reach the innate realm. In other words, as long as your spirit isn't ridiculously weak, all of them can reach the innate realm. Qingshan, have you reached the harmonization of the body with the heavens and the earth? Li Jun inquired. Soon, Ting Qingshan said with a faint smile, when I reach the harmonization of the body with the heavens and the earth, I will go to the Guiyuan sect. Chapter 437. After attaining the emptiness realm, it was very easy to achieve the harmonization of the spirit with the heavens and the earth. As for the harmonization of the body with the heavens and the earth, it was slightly more difficult. However, an ordinary emptiness realm expert could achieve it after spending some time. Once he reached the level of body harmonization with heaven and earth, he would be able to transform into a stream of heaven and earth energy. The fastest Qigong movement technique did not require the assistance of the power of the heavens and earth. Instead, one had to fuse one's body with the world and become a part of the world's energy. Only then would one be able to achieve the fastest speed. Merging the body with the heavens and the earth. My earth elemental art allows me to travel 1 to 2 li in a single step by entering the power of the heavens and the earth. Ting Qingshan pondered, however, my earth elemental Tao has yet to be mastered. If you want to merge your body with heaven and earth, you can only choose the power of metal or fire. With the experience of the earth elemental art, Ting Qingshan's harmonization of the body with the heavens and earth continued to improve. Early morning of September 6. In the training field of the Li residence in the county city of Nanxing County, Ting Qingshan was practicing the metal elemental fist. His fist art was like a giant axe, big and fierce. Although Ting Qingshan didn't use much strength, Ting Qingshan's fist art already contained the metal elemental Tao. It was enough to shake one's mind and make one's spirit fall into the illusion of the metal elemental Tao. Hu! Ting Qingshan let out a long breath. His aura was like a sharp sword as he withdrew his aura. The enormous demonic beast, the 6-legged blade-like Qi, lay at the side and watched without blinking. Its protruding eyes, which were as big as wheels, seemed to be thinking about something. As for the whole Gale Eagle on the roof of the 6-legged blade-like Qi's lair, it blinked its eyes. Obviously, it did not understand Ting Qingshan's fist technique. Qingshan. Li Jun came over with a cup of tea. Little Jun, Ting Qingshan, who was dressed in a loose green robe, smiled and walked over. I'm going to the Gui Yuan sect this time. I should be back at night. Help me look after the matters at home. Yes, but Qingshan, be careful, Li Jun said worriedly. Don't worry, I've already reached harmonization of body with heaven and earth. Even if I encountered an emptiness realm culmination expert, I would still be able to escape. Even if he has flying demonic beasts, I can still escape underground. Ting Qingshan was very confident. Once an emptiness realm expert achieved the harmonization of the spirit with the heavens and the earth and the body with the heavens and the earth, he would be able to go anywhere in the world. After all, there were too few flying demonic beasts in the world. Moreover, it was even rarer to be able to quickly burrow into the ground like the undying phoenix. The Tianfeng martial immortal of Duanmu continent could only be said to be unlucky to have encountered the undying phoenix. As an emptiness realm expert, Ting Qinggong didn't even need 2 hours to travel from Nanxing County City to Jiangning County City. 3 li away from the east gate of Jiangning County City, a silhouette materialized in the weeds beside the official road. He seemed to be the son of a wealthy family, and he was carrying a long package on his back. He stepped onto the main road and walked towards the east city gate. Jiangning County. It's been a long time since I last came back. Ting Qingshan stared at the 2 big words, Jiangning, above the east city gate. It was as if he could see himself leading the many cavalrymen of the Black Armored Corps and leaving Jiangning County to Yanjiang City to resist the army of Qinghu Island. He could also see himself leading the guards of the Black Armored Corps to the Great Yan Mountain to save his family. It has been almost 4 years. Jiangning County, Gui Yuan Sect. I am back again. Ting Qingshan paid the entrance fee and entered the Gui Yuan sect through the East City Gate. When he left the Gui Yuan sect for the last time, Ting Qingshan had just reached the innate realm. But now, Ting Qingshan had already become an emptiness realm expert. Ting Qingshan walked on the main street of Jiangning County. On the left side of the main street was the barracks of the Black Armored Corps of the Gui Yuan sect, and on the right side were many shops. The main street was one of the main thoroughfares of Jiangning County. It was very lively, and pedestrians came and went. Ting Qingshan, who was dressed like a rich young master, was not eye-catching. The barracks. Ting Qingshan looked to the left. Ha! Ha! Thunderous shouts came from the barracks of the Gui Yuan sect. Every morning, the Black Armored Corps would train for a long time. The Black Armored Corps is training. Ting Qingshan's expression suddenly changed. Because, within the domain, Ting Qingshan could clearly feel a familiar aura. This aura contained his father, Ting Yongfan, his mother, his sister, Qingyu, and many members of the Ting clan, as well as his teacher, Zhuge Yuanhong. Father, mother. Ting Qingshan couldn't help but tear up. He wanted so badly to rush to his parents right now. Fortunately, father, mother, and sister are fine. Ting Qingshan took a deep breath. According to Ting Qingshan's domain, his father, mother, and sister were all in the Guiyuan sect. As for the Ting clan, it was in a large mansion in the north of Ting Qingshan. Grandfather is alive and well, and Uncle Yonglei is also here. Ting Qingshan was filled with joy. Ting Qingshan was very familiar with the main street. He was also very familiar with many of the people here. In the past, when he traveled from the Ting residence to the barracks, he would often pass by some shop. This is my hometown, Ting Qingshan said to himself. Such a powerful aura. The aura of an emptiness realm expert. Ting Qingshan raised his head and looked to the south. It's in the martial pavilion. It turns out that the emptiness realm expert of the Guiyuan sect is actually Elder Wu of the martial pavilion, who likes to read unofficial history novels. In the martial pavilion of the Guiyuan sect, Elder Wu, who had a head full of silver hair and was always smiling, had a solemn expression as he stood at the entrance of the martial pavilion and looked to the north. He frowned and thought to himself, such a strong and sharp metal force, and the extremely hot aura of flames. Which emptiness realm expert is this? I don't think I have seen him before, but he seems familiar. Elder Wu was confused. The aura of a person was related to the spirit. However, when a person reaches the emptiness realm, especially when the spirit has the characteristics of merging with the power of the heavens and earth, the spirit will change, and so will the aura. If the two were very familiar, one could still recognize them. However, Elder Wu and Ting Qingshan were not familiar, so he did not recognize them. Perhaps, he did not dare to think that the talented young man who ran away could reach the emptiness realm at the age of 21. Yes, he might be an emptiness realm expert who passed by Jiangning County. Since he did not come to disturb us, just pretend that we did not see him. Elder Wu returned to the martial pavilion and returned to his desk. Although he picked up an unofficial history novel, his mind was no longer on the unofficial history novel, but on the mysterious emptiness realm expert in the distance. After all, every emptiness realm expert was very terrifying. If an emptiness realm expert dashed into a sect, killed the sovereign of the sect, and then escaped, even an emptiness realm culmination expert might not be able to stop him. Therefore, when the emptiness realm expert saw the emptiness realm expert enter the city, the emptiness realm expert of the sect did not dare to be careless. He stopped. Is he on the canal bridge? Elder Wu frowned. The Yuyang Grand Canal ran through the inner part of Jiangning County. On the canal bridge on the main street, Ting Qingshan was standing on the bridge, holding onto the railing. Voila, the water of the canal was surging. Occasionally, boats would pass under the bridge, and on the bridge, there were many young men and women dating. Canal. Yuyang Grand Canal. In Ting Qingshan's mind, the scene of him and Zhuge Qing touring the canal at night emerged. Qing. Ting Qingshan felt guilty towards Zhuge Qing. At the same time, his desire to kill Qinghu Island grew stronger. I will not let go of everything that happened that year. Qinghu Island, you failed to kill me back then, but I came back after 4 years. This time, I will make you pay the price. Ting Qingshan's eyes glinted with coldness. This was the principle of the world. When Qinghu Island annihilated Tai E Hall and killed hundreds of thousands of people, the world would only praise Qinghu Island for being powerful. Very few people would say that Qinghu Island was cruel. Qinghu Island had been arrogant in the Great Yen Mountain and had forced Guiyuan sect, but Guiyuan sect could only endure it. Teacher. Ting Qingshan raised his head and looked towards the south. He walked to the shade of a tree under the bridge and disappeared completely. Then, with a shocking speed, he transformed into a streak of light that was almost invisible to the naked eye and dashed towards the interior of Gui Yuan sect. Oh no! In the martial pavilion, Elder Wu, who had never dared to relax, had his facial expression change drastically. With a flash, he also disappeared from the martial pavilion and looked towards Sovereign Zhuge Yuanhong at a shocking speed. This emptiness realm expert is really sinister. First, he stayed motionless on the canal bridge, but now, he suddenly dashed towards Yuanhong's cultivation area. Yuanhong is only one step away from the emptiness realm. He could break through and reach the emptiness realm at any time. I'm afraid that the blind swordmaster of Qing Hu Island invited an emptiness realm expert to kill Yuanhong. Elder Wu was both shocked and angry. In the history of the land of the 9 prefectures, an emptiness realm expert suddenly dashed into a sect, killed several elites, and then fled at top speed. This kind of thing had happened before. Ever since they became enemies with Qing Hu Island, Gui Yuan sect had been very cautious. But today an emptiness realm expert came. That damn blind man is really sinister. Elder Wu cursed. Inside Zhuge Yuanhong's study room, the door of the study room was closed and the windows were open. The rich fragrance of sandalwood permeated the entire study room. Dressed in a loose white cloak, Zhuge Yuanhong sat cross-legged with his long hair hanging loosely over his shoulders. Compared to 4 years ago, the current Zhuge Yuanhong was much more composed. He sat there as if he didn't exist. Phew! A gust of wind blew through the study room and transformed into a figure. It was Elder Wu. The martial pavilion was not far from the study room. Naturally, Elder Wu had arrived first. Zhuge Yuanhong opened his eyes and said in surprise, "Martial ancestor?" He was especially shocked when he saw the dark green godly sword in Elder Wu's hand. Elder Wu was an emptiness realm expert. What could have scared the #1 expert of Gui Yuan sect, Elder Wu, to the point of wielding a weapon? Yuanhong, bad news. An emptiness realm expert is here. Elder Wu said anxiously. An emptiness realm expert? No matter how composed Zhuge Yuanhong was, his facial expression changed drastically as he asked, "Is it Qing Hu Island?" Zhuge Yuanhong knew of the blind swordmaster's reputation. He was a terrifying emptiness realm culmination expert. If the blind swordmaster really came, Elder Wu might be able to escape, but it would be difficult for him to protect Elder Wu. The blind swordmaster wouldn't be so unwise. Zhuge Yuanhong's heart was in his throat. Elder Wu stood in front of Zhuge Yuanhong and waited cautiously. Phew! A beam of rainbow light passed through the window and landed in the study room. Then, the figure solidified and transformed into an ordinary young man who looked like a son of a wealthy family. "Friend, why have you come to Gui Yuan sect?" Elder Wu stared at Ting Qingshan with an imposing manner. A hint of excitement could be seen in the young man's eyes as he said, "Elder Wu." Then, he looked at Zhuge Yuanhong. In his mind, he thought of the many black armored core brothers who had died in the Great Yen Mountain, as well as Qing. He couldn't help but feel guilty and kneeled down with tears in his eyes. "Teacher, my unfilial disciple, Ting Qingshan, is back. P.S. 2 chapters completed, brothers. Yesterday you were #1 in both weekly votes and recommended vote. Now you have surpassed me. Please throw your votes and support me. Monthly votes, recommended votes, even tomatoes." Chapter 438. Teacher, my unfilial disciple, Ting Qingshan, is back. His voice echoed in the study room. However, when Zhuge Yuanhong and Elder Wu heard this, they were dumbfounded. This terrifying emptiness realm expert who has comprehended the Tao of fire and the Tao of metal, is that little fellow Ting Qingshan? Elder Wu's eyes widened as he stared at the young man who was kneeling with tears in his eyes. How is this possible? How could he be Ting Qingshan? Even though Zhuge Yuanhong was the sect leader, he was still shocked. The kneeling Ting Qingshan was filled with guilt as he thought to himself, back then, I took revenge for my father and my clansmen. I was confident that I wouldn't be exposed, but what happened? In the end, my identity was still discovered, and I even implicated the Gui Yuan sect. So many brothers of the Black Armored Corps died, and so did Qing Qing. It was all because of my selfishness, my insanity. Ting Qingshan was filled with guilt towards his teacher, Zhuge Yuanhong. If it weren't for him, his teacher wouldn't have lost his beloved daughter. Teacher. Ting Qingshan raised his head and looked at Zhuge Yuanhong. You are Qingshan? Zhuge Yuanhong was completely shocked. Ting Qingshan suddenly realized that his appearance was a disguise. He immediately touched his face, and the shape of his face changed slightly. The soft curves of his face became sharper, and the distance between his eyes changed slightly as well. He changed from an ordinary son of a rich family to a cold and handsome young man. Ever since he reached the later stage of the Supreme Force and reached the limits of the human body, Ting Qingshan could also make subtle changes to the bones and muscles of his face. He didn't need to use paintbrushes or other materials to change his appearance. Elder Wu was shocked, and so was Zhuge Yuanhong. Now, the person in front of them was the extremely crazy disciple in the Great Yen Mountain. He was also the most talented disciple in the history of the Gui Yuan sect. Ting Qingshan. Compared to 4 years ago, Ting Qingshan had become more mature, and his aura was more restrained. However, he could still recognize it at a glance. Qingshan. Zhuge Yuanhong walked over excitedly and pulled Ting Qingshan up. Get up, get up. Ting Qingshan could clearly see that his master's eyes were also brimming with tears. Child, it's been almost 4 years, and there's been no news at all. Zhuge Yuanhong pulled Ting Qingshan's hand. Your parents have been very worried about you. They were worried that something might happen to you. Thank goodness. I'm finally back, I'm back. It's good that you're back. I'm finally relieved. Ting Qingshan could feel his master's deep concern. Strands of silver hair could still be seen on his master's temples. Master. Ting Qingshan's heart ached. Ever since Zhuge Yuanhong was going to marry his daughter to Ting Qingshan, and his son was going to marry Qingyu, he had already prepared to let Ting Qingshan succeed the position of the sovereign of the Gui Yuan sect. Therefore, Zhuge Yuanhong had long treated Ting Qingshan as his own child and cared for him. When they met again, Zhuge Yuanhong was very excited. Master, disciple is sorry. Ting Qingshan knelt down again with tears in his eyes. That year, disciple was reckless, and master had to send troops to the Great Yen Mountain to save me. In the end, many brothers of the Black Armored Corps died, and Qingqing. I'm sorry, master. Ting Qingshan's heart was filled with guilt. The scene in the Great Yen Mountain was still fresh in his mind. Master, Qingshan killed the men of Qinghu Island. I don't regret it. Qingshan failed to live up to master's teachings. Qingshan doesn't deserve to be master's disciple. Everyone is my witness. From now on, I, Ting Qingshan, betrayed the Gui Yuan sect. Everything that I, Ting Qingshan, have done has nothing to do with the Gui Yuan sect. Ting Qingshan would never forget the scene in the Great Yen Mountain. In this life, he felt the most guilty towards Qingqing and his dead brothers. He also felt sorry towards his master, Zhuge Yuanhong. However, he didn't have the chance to tell his master when he was escaping. Today, he finally had the chance to atone for his sins. Qingshan. Zhuge Yuanhong shook his head and sighed. You? Master doesn't blame you. That year in the Great Yen Mountain, you said that you betrayed the Gui Yuan sect. Not only was I not angry, I was very touched. I knew that you did it for the sect. I only hate that the Gui Yuan sect is not strong enough. I only hate that I, Zhuge Yuanhong, am not capable. Otherwise, how could I, Zhuge Yuanhong, let my disciple suffer such humiliation? How could I let my beloved daughter die for no reason? You are the disciple, and I am the master. Zhuge Yuanhong stared at Ting Qingshan and said, when the sky falls, master should be the one to bear it. It's master's incompetence that made you bear it alone and flee all over the world. Master. When Ting Qingshan heard this, tears streamed down his face. Look at you guys. Today is a good day, a joyous day. Elder Wu, who was at the side, said with a smile, Qingshan has returned safely, and the Guiyuan sect now has another emptiness realm expert. This is a good thing. Why are you guys crying? Yes. Qingshan, you are already an emptiness realm expert. Why are you still crying? Zhuge Yuanhong also smiled as he pulled Ting Qingshan up. Ting Qingshan took a deep breath, and his tears evaporated. In the years he had been in Duanmu continent, he had only shed tears for Li Jun. He had never shed tears before. Today, when he saw his master, he felt excited to return, guilty, and touched. All these emotions made Ting Qingshan unable to control himself. Qingshan, sit down. Tell master what exactly is going on. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and said, my talented disciple, how did you become an emptiness realm expert from a true Dan innate expert in just a few short years? I haven't even broken through yet. Yes. Qingshan, how did you reach the emptiness realm? Elder Wu stared at Ting Qingshan, his eyes filled with disbelief. An emptiness realm expert. Qinghu Island is one of the 8 supreme sects in the world. Isn't he just an emptiness realm expert? Qingshan, you. The most shocking thing was that Ting Qingshan was only 21 years old. Master, Elder Wu. Ting Qingshan took a deep breath and said, listen to me. In the past, I was pursued in Wu city of Yuzhou. I then fled secretly until I reached the Great Prairie in the north. The study room quietened down, and only Ting Qingshan's voice could be heard. What? The Heavenly God Palace? Zhuge Yuanhong and Elder Wu were shocked. Yes, the God of Heaven Mountain is indeed a branch of the Heavenly God Palace. Plus, after I defeated the first godly general, Boralimu, I was invited by the God of Heaven to be one of the 3 foreign dignitaries of the Heavenly God Palace. Ting Qingshan continued talking about the sea and many other things. Ting Qingshan briefly mentioned some things that shouldn't be mentioned. However, when he crossed the North Sea and came to Duanmu continent, the many things that happened after that, especially the battle between Ting Qingshan and the Tianfeng martial immortal, Zhuge Yuanhong and Elder Wu gasped. A battle with an emptiness realm expert? After a long time, the study room quietened down. After leaving Phoenix Island, Little June, my 2 disciples, and I rode the 6-legged blade-like Qi back to the land of the 9 prefectures, Ting Qingshan said. Elder Wu and Zhuge Yuanhong both heaved a sigh of relief. Duanmu continent. There's actually such a place in this world? Zhuge Yuanhong couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. He immediately looked at Ting Qingshan and said, Qingshan, the news you brought this time is like charcoal in snowy weather to the Guiyuan sect. The Tianfeng Shui pearl and blazing flame red lotus seed are not bad, but the most amazing thing is the undying phoenix. Qingshan, you are really lucky to be friends with this godly beast. Zhuge Yuanhong praised. Ting Qingshan sighed emotionally and said, it's also thanks to Little June, otherwise, we wouldn't be able to compete with the godly beast. Yes. Zhuge Yuanhong nodded and said, the news you brought this time is really good news for the Guiyuan sect. The Guiyuan sect can reverse the situation and even replace Qinghu Island as one of the 8 supreme sects. It's not impossible. Ting Qingshan smiled when he heard this. In terms of stratagems, he was indeed much weaker than his teacher. Zhuge Yuanhong, who was known as the Guiyuan Zhuge, was indeed top-notch in stratagems. Moreover, Ting Qingshan trusted his teacher very much. Of course, there were some things that Ting Qingshan didn't say. He simply didn't want Duanmu continent to suffer. For example, the relationship between the splitting mountain axe and the 36 splitting mountain forms. Although Ting Qingshan had brought the splitting mountain axe back, Ting Qingshan had memorized all the concepts contained in the stone inscriptions of the 36 splitting mountain forms. Therefore, he didn't bring the stone inscriptions back. This way, even if the splitting mountain axe was spread out, no one would discover the relationship between the splitting mountain axe and the stone inscriptions. After all, the stone inscriptions were in Duanmu continent. Teacher, what do you think we should do now? Ting Qingshan asked. Let me think. Zhuge Yuanhong's eyes shone. It was obvious that he was extremely excited. After all, Ting Qingshan had brought a lot of resources. Whether it was the fiery gilt steel, the grass of immortality, or the blazing flame-red lotus seed, the six-legged blade-like chi and the undying phoenix that would come in the future, Ting Qingshan said. Why don't I go visit my parents and sister first? Ting Qingshan said. Yes. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and nodded. But remember, don't let them discover you for the time being. It's not suitable for your current identity to be made public. As for your parents, Qinghu Island must be secretly monitoring them. If your parents leak the news of your return, it would be terrible. What should you do? Let me think about it and give you a suggestion later. I know. Ting Qingshan nodded. Ting Qingshan was not worried that his teacher would leak the news. He was also not worried that his teacher would be greedy. After all, even if he gave all these treasures to his teacher, Ting Qingshan wouldn't mind. After all, he owed his teacher too much. By relying on his teacher's wisdom, he would be able to maximize the use of his resources. Ting Qingshan touched his face. The bones of his face changed, and the curves of his face became softer. His facial features also changed slightly. Just this slight change caused Ting Qingshan to become a completely different person. Watching Ting Qingshan do all this, Zhuge Yuanhong and Elder Wu couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Whoosh! Ting Qingshan transformed into a beam of light and disappeared from the study. Yuanhong, I still can't believe that Ting Qingshan actually reached the emptiness realm. And he comprehended more than one Tao. Elder Wu couldn't help but shake his head. I can't believe it. 21 years old. Ting Qingshan is only 21 years old. Zhuge Yuanhong took a deep breath and looked out of the window. I can't believe it either. However, Qingshan is back. He has reached the emptiness realm. A 21 years old emptiness realm. Chapter 439. Ting Qingshan's return as an emptiness realm expert was indeed a timely help to the Gui Yuan sect. While Zhuge Yuanhong was thinking hard about how to make the most of the resources brought by Ting Qingshan, Ting Qingshan went to Longgang, a place where the disciples of the Gui Yuan sect often strolled. There were many small paths and flower beds on Longgang. The scenery was very beautiful. Some family members, elders, and young men and women of the Gui Yuan sect would often come here for a walk. Father, mother. Ting Qingshan looked into the distance. Yuan Lan, who was dressed in a simple crimson cotton gown, was pushing a custom-made wheelchair. Ting Yongfan, who was not as energetic as he used to be, squinted his eyes and chuckled as he looked around. There were clear wrinkles at the corners of his eyes. With Ting Qingshan's eyesight, he could see the many silver hairs on his father's head. His father had aged a lot compared to 4 years ago. Lan, after lunch, go to the clan in the afternoon. Ting Yongfan chuckled. The clan is a few li away from here. Why do you have to go so far? Take a good rest. Yuan Lan advised. Ting Yongfan glared at her and said, That won't do. Teacher is old. When the bandits of Qinghu Island charged into our hometown in E-City, teacher's hands were injured. He couldn't teach those 3 brats how to forge weapons. Those 3 brats would be lazy if I wasn't here. Don't think that I can't stand up. I can teach those 3 brats easily. Okay. Yuan Lan laughed. Standing in the distance, Ting Qingshan looked at his parents and smiled. It was enough that his parents were living well. Slow down. A clear and melodious voice came from not far away. Ting Qingshan turned his head to look and saw a beautiful young married woman with another young girl playing with 2 toddlers who were learning how to walk. Ting Qingshan looked at the young married woman and revealed a doting smile. Qingyu. In a flash, almost 4 years have passed. Qingyu has matured a lot. That young woman was his sister, Ting Qingyu. Xiao Shan, Ting, come here, come to mother. Qingyu squatted down and shouted at the 2 children. The 2 children who were walking on the grass walked towards Qingyu while babbling, calling out in their childish voices, Mother, mother, Qingyu has 2 children? Ting Qingshan was both surprised and happy. When I left the land of the 9 prefectures, Qingyu and Zhuge Yun had just gotten married. I didn't expect them to have 2 children now. Xiao Shan, Ting. It seemed like they were a man and a woman. But looking at their appearances, they really did look alike. They should be the dragon and phoenix twins. As a mother, Qingyu's gaze was filled with love and concern as she looked at her children. The maidservants beside her were also taking care of the 2 children. Hey Xiao Shan, Ting, look. Grandpa and Grandma are over there. Let's go see them, okay? Qingyu looked into the distance. Grandfather, grandmother. Although the voice of one of the children was young and tender, he still managed to shout out. It's too far. Grandfather and grandmother can't hear us. Let's go. Qingyu carried one of the children, while the maidservant carried the other child. The 2 of them walked towards Ting Yongfan and the others. As for Ting Qingshan, he was in the middle of the 2 group. Qingyu, who was carrying the children, walked over and saw the seemingly amiable young man standing there. Under normal circumstances, Qingyu wouldn't talk to strangers. However, when she saw this young man, she didn't know why, but Qingyu felt a sense of familiarity. Qingyu is coming. Ting Qingshan couldn't help but hold his breath as his heartbeat quickened. He wasn't this nervous even when he faced thousands of soldiers and fought with the Tianfeng martial immortal. However, when he saw his sister walking over, Ting Qingshan's heartbeat quickened. Hello, I don't think I've seen you before. Qingyu smiled as she looked at Ting Qingshan. This is my first time coming to the Gui Yuan sect. Ting Qingshan replied. At the same time, he scrutinized his sister. After not seeing her for several years, his sister's face didn't look childish anymore. Instead, she had a gentle temperament. I don't know why, but I feel like I've seen you somewhere before. However, I just can't remember. Qingyu carried her child and said with a smile, This is really strange. There was something that Qingyu didn't say. The strangest thing was that she would naturally have a good impression of a stranger. Maybe you've seen someone who looks like me. Ting Qingshan smiled as he looked at the child in Qingyu's arms and asked, Is this your child? Yes, my son. Qingyu smiled proudly. The child widened his black eyes and scrutinized the stranger in front of him. Then, he revealed a bright smile and said, Ha ha. As he laughed, he stretched out his chubby little hand. Little Sean likes you. Qingyu laughed in surprise. I like this little fellow very much too. Ting Qingshan smiled as he shook his nephew's little hand. The child's eyes narrowed as he laughed. He seemed very happy. Other than Ting Qingshan, Qingyu and the others probably didn't know that the person in front of them was her brother. He was also this child's uncle. Qingyu. A gentle and familiar voice sounded. Ting Qingshan turned his head and saw his mother, Yuan Lan, pushing a wheelchair over. Little Shan, Ting. Ting Yongfan, who was sitting in the wheelchair, was very happy to see his grandson and granddaughter. Father, mother. Qingyu walked over with the child in her arms and handed the child to her parents. The maid also handed the little girl to Ting Yongfan. Holding their grandson and granddaughter, Yuan Lan and Ting Yongfan seemed very happy. Father and Mother's days are very peaceful and warm. Ting Qingshan felt a lot more relaxed. At this time, his mother, Yuan Lan, looked at Ting Qingshan and was slightly startled. Mother and son were connected. Although his appearance and temperament were completely different, Yuan Lan still felt that the person in front of her was very familiar. Qingyu, this is? Yuan Lan seemed a little nervous. Qingyu smiled and said, I just met him. I still don't know his name. My surname is Li. This is my first time coming to the Guiyuan sect. I am here to visit Sovereign Zhuge. Ting Qingshan tried to suppress his excitement. Yuan Lan nodded and looked at Ting Qingshan with a trace of kindness and concern. Ting Yongfan also looked at Ting Qingshan deeply. At this time, a discussion came from the side. Commander Zhang Feng is now an inborn expert. I heard that the sect will promote him to a guardian elder in the near future. He is so powerful. He became an innate expert at such a young age. In the younger generation of the sect, Commander Zhang Feng is the most powerful. Yes, although Commander Zhuge's sword art is excellent, he has not reached the innate realm. Look at you two. Commander Zhuge? Commander Zhang Feng? When Commander Ting was here, he defeated Commander Zhang Feng with one move. He became an innate expert at the age of 17. It is said that in Wu City of Yuzhou, several Golden Dan innate experts couldn't do anything to Commander Ting. Commander Ting? Who doesn't know that Ting Qingshan betrayed the Guiyuan sect? What Commander Ting? Ridiculous. Lower your voice. The discussion suddenly quieted down. In the sect, 3 disciples glanced over and quickly walked away. They didn't dare to talk anymore. Hearing the discussion, Ting Yongfan, his wife, and Qingyu, who were originally in a good mood, changed their expressions. Those 3 bastards! How dare they say that about my brother? Qingyu stared at the backs of the 3 and said with hatred. All right. Stop talking. Ting Yongfan sighed. In the Guiyuan sect, there were people who admired Ting Qingshan and thought that Ting Qingshan did the right thing. However, there were also people who belittled Ting Qingshan and thought that Ting Qingshan's actions were stupid and caused the deaths of many of his brothers in the Black Armored Corps. However, no one dared to talk about it with Ting Qingshan's parents. I don't know when Qingshan will come back. Yuan Lan sighed. It's okay. Don't worry. We can still live for a few more decades until our children come back. Ting Yongfan said with a smile. Seeing this, Ting Qingshan couldn't help but feel sour in his heart. Are you talking about Ting Qingshan? Ting Qingshan said. Ting Yongfan, his wife, Qingyu, and the others all looked over. I believe that Ting Qingshan will come back. Ting Qingshan looked at his parents and said with a smile, maybe Ting Qingshan is hiding somewhere in the land of the 9 prefectures. Sometimes, he secretly comes to see you too. You two just don't know. Secretly watch us. Ting Yongfan and Yuan Lan were stunned and hastily looked around. Everyone, I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. Ting Qingshan couldn't stay here any longer. He was worried that he wouldn't be able to conceal himself, so he immediately turned around and left. At this moment, even though Ting Yongfan, Yuan Lan, Qingyu, and the others saw their family, they still didn't know that the person in front of them was the family they were worried about and missed. Ting Qingshan. Father, Mother, Qingyu, I will appear in front of you soon. Ting Qingshan took a deep breath and returned to the study room where his teacher was. In the study room, Ting Qingshan transformed into a rainbow light and turned into a human figure in the study room. Qingshan. Zhuge Yuanhong saw Ting Qingshan and immediately stood up. Did you see your parents? Yes. Ting Qingshan nodded. You didn't tell them your identity, did you? Zhuge Yuanhong hastily asked. No. Ting Qingshan nodded. Zhuge Yuanhong nodded and sighed. I know that this makes you feel upset. However, this was something that he had to endure. After all, your parents, Qingyu, and the others might leak the secret at any time. It's very dangerous. You told me so much before, so I already have a rough plan. Teacher, what should I do? Ting Qingshan's eyes brightened. Zhuge Yuanhong's eyes brightened as he said confidently, with you joining us, the Gui Yuan sect now has 2 emptiness realm experts, many spiritual treasures, and even the fiery gilt steel. However, we have an advantage now. The advantage is that Qinghu Island doesn't know that you, Qingshan, have reached the emptiness realm. They don't know that you have returned. We can't give up this advantage. If we fall out with them now, although we can fight against them, it won't bring us much benefit. Therefore, there are 3 things you need to do. Zhuge Yuanhong's voice was very firm. First, Qingshan, use your methods to secretly create a bandit gang in the south of Yangzhou. Train them well, and when they are equipped with the elixir of the North Sea and the fiery gilt steel armor, they will definitely become a terrifying elite army. When the Gui Yuan sect and Qinghu Island start fighting, the Gui Yuan sect will be in the north, and you will lead the army in the south and attack them from behind. Second, you have the Grass of Immortality. There are many powerful experts on the heavenly ranking who are 180 or 190 years old and are only 1 step away from reaching the emptiness realm. However, because of their limited lifespans and the fact that they are nearing the end of their lifespans, they feel too much pressure. They can't break through to the emptiness realm. With the Grass of Immortality, you can definitely make friends with them. You might even be able to cultivate 1 or 2 emptiness realm experts. Third, you have to appear with another face and become enemies with Qinghu Island. This is the third. Ting Qingshan was stunned. He didn't understand what his teacher meant. P.S. 2 chapters completed. Brothers, you are too awesome. Yesterday you just canvassed votes and you ranked first in both rankings. Just like that, your monthly votes increased by a large amount. Brothers, don't slack off. Throw your monthly votes and recommendation votes at me. Chapter 440. Qingshan. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled helplessly and said, Teacher asked you to fight against Qinghu Island in a different way because I had no choice. Teacher? Ting Qingshan listened attentively. Elder Wu, who was at the side, said, Qingshan, ever since the battle at the Great Yen Mountain, Qinghu Island lost 12 innate experts. Now, out of the 13 counties in Yangzhou, 12 counties are under Qinghu Island's control. Only the Gui Yuan sect has not been destroyed. Of course, Qinghu Island views the Gui Yuan sect as a thorn in their side. Zhuge Yuanhong continued, if Martial Ancestor didn't become an emptiness realm expert, Qinghu Island would have destroyed the Gui Yuan sect long ago. Ting Qingshan nodded. In the past, Qinghu Island's army had approached Yangzhou, but the emptiness realm expert had frightened them and forced them to retreat. However, Qingshan, the old man of Qinghu Island, the blind sword master, is nearing the end of his life. I estimate that he only has 20 years left to live. Zhuge Yuanhong said solemnly, an emptiness realm expert can only live for 500 years at most. This is unchangeable. You should understand what it means for him to only have 20 years left. Ting Qingshan's expression turned solemn. Before he dies, the blind sword master will definitely eliminate the threat at all costs so that the descendants of Qinghu Island can protect their 1,000-year foundation. Zhuge Yuanhong said solemnly, the biggest threat to Qinghu Island is undoubtedly the Gui Yuan sect. After all, there are only 2 sects in Yangzhou. It's either you or I die. Ting Qingshan nodded slightly. Teacher, I understand. Therefore, during the 4 years that you were away, the Gui Yuan sect has been lying low. We didn't want to fight to the death with Qinghu Island. Zhuge Yuanhong said helplessly, in terms of emptiness realm expert, martial ancestor, compared to the blind sword master. Elder Wu shook his head and smiled. I am indeed not as good as him. As for the number of ordinary disciples and soldiers, Zhuge Yuanhong smiled bitterly and said, My Guiyuan sect is far inferior to Qinghu Island. Qinghu Island has 12 counties as its foundation. Even if my Guiyuan sect has the elixir of the North Sea, in front of an army of over 1 million soldiers, in a real battle, my Guiyuan sect will still be finished. Our Guiyuan sect has been around for thousands of years, and we've built this foundation. I don't want to fight to the death with Qinghu Island. Zhuge Yuanhong's eyes flashed with coldness as he said, I also don't want to let tens of thousands of disciples die. So, Zhuge Yuanhong stared at Ting Qingshan and said, Qingshan, I hope that you will treat Qinghu Island differently. You can fight against Qinghu Island with the identity of an emptiness realm expert who doesn't belong to any sect or family. Even Qinghu Island would have a headache if they offended an emptiness realm expert who didn't belong to any sects or ties. The important figures of the sects would also be afraid. When that time comes, they would have to be on guard against you and focus all their energy on you. They wouldn't easily start a war with Guiyuan sect. Haha! Elder Wu laughed loudly and said, In the land of the 9 prefectures, the most terrifying people aren't the emptiness realm experts of the big sections. It's the emptiness realm experts who don't belong to any sects or ties. For example, Tan Tsang, who was known as the drunkard, offended the Ying family in the past. Although the drunkard hadn't reached emptiness realm culmination, even an emptiness realm culmination expert wouldn't be able to catch up to him. Back then, the drunkard charged into the Ying family and killed 9 innate experts in a row. Then, he quickly escaped. The Ying family couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't catch up to him. As for the drunkard, he was an old monster who was over 400 years old. All of his relatives had died. Without any relatives or a sect, the Ying family couldn't threaten him even if they wanted to. In the end, the Ying family took a step back and negotiated with the drunkard to form a grudge. Elder Wu smiled as he looked at Ting Qingshan and said, If you have a sect, you will have something to worry about and a weakness. If you don't have any relatives or a sect, you won't have any weakness. None of the big sects are willing to offend this kind of emptiness realm expert. Elder Wu laughed and said, Qingshan, your teacher wants you to be this kind of person. Haha! Ting Qingshan laughed and said, Teacher, you are really ruthless. The barefooted are not afraid of those who wear shoes. An emptiness realm expert who doesn't belong to any sect is indeed a headache for other sections. Ting Qingshan understood what his teacher meant. However, Qingshan, Zhuge Yuanhong hastily said, when you fight with Qinghu Island, you have to control the degree. You have to make Qinghu Island feel threatened and afraid, but don't force them to go crazy. If Qinghu Island goes crazy, they might ask the Shooting Sun God Mountain or the Snow Hawk Hall for help. For example, the Shooting Sun God Mountain has a godly beast demonic wolf that can run faster than an emptiness realm expert on land. It can also drill underground very quickly. Oh! Ting Qingshan was shocked. In the land of the 9 prefectures, there were a few clans that understood the language of beasts. Moreover, some of the ancient sects had existed for many years. For example, the Shooting Sun God Mountain and Emperor Yu's Hall. It wasn't strange for them to have an emptiness realm demonic beast. When he was in Qingzhou, Ting Qingshan had heard that a godly thunderbolt hawk had attacked Xiaoyao Palace. Teacher, don't worry. I know what to do. Ting Qingshan smiled as he thought to himself, I hope Little Blue will come soon. With Little Blue around, Qinghu Island can only endure being bullied. However, there is still 1.5 years before Little Blue comes. The 6-legged blade-like Qi is only 1 step away from the emptiness realm. From the looks of it, it walks the metal elemental Tao. I hope the 6-legged blade-like Qi will reach the emptiness realm soon. Ting Qingshan was looking forward to it. Actually, He was sitting on the back of the six-legged blade-like chi. After all, humans couldn't fly. Even if they reached emptiness realm culmination, they wouldn't be able to fly very fast. Ting Qingshan sat on the back of the six-legged blade-like chi with the six-legged blade-like chi's astonishing speed and the help of the power of the heavens and earth. The six-legged blade-like chi's speed would surpass the flying speed of a human who had reached emptiness realm culmination. Moreover, the six-legged blade-like chi was most proficient in drilling. After deciding on the three plans, Ting Qingshan had a rough idea of what to do. Teacher, the first two plans are. For the second plan, which experts in the heavenly ranking are close to the end of their lifespans. I'm not sure, Ting Qingshan said. Zhuge Yuanhong laughed and said, Qingshan, among the top 10 of the heavenly ranking, there are only 4 people who are under 100 years old and 4 people who are over 150 years old. However, none of them are over 190 years old. Do you know why? None of them are over 190 years old? Ting Qingshan was slightly confused. After reaching the innate realm, the older one was, the stronger one would be. Between the 60-year-old Zhuge Yuanhong and the 190-year-old Zhuge Yuanhong, it was obvious who was stronger. Why not? Ting Qingshan asked doubtfully. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and said, Actually, there is an unspoken rule in the heavenly ranking. If one is over 190 years old, the heavenly ranking will not record them. Ting Qingshan froze. There are 2 outcomes for a Golden Dan innate expert who is over 190 years old. The first is to reach the emptiness realm before death. The second is to die of old age. Of course, almost all Golden Dan innate experts who are over 190 years old will die of old age due to the mental pressure in their last 10 years. Actually, it doesn't matter if they die of old age or reach the emptiness realm. The heavenly ranking will not record it. The heavenly ranking will not allow a Golden Dan innate expert to keep his position until he dies of old age. After all, this is too sad. When one is 190 years old, the ranking will naturally not be recorded anymore. As for dying of old age, it will be a breakthrough and reach the emptiness realm in one step. Let the younger generation imagine. Ting Qingshan suddenly understood. Qingshan, I have a list here. Zhuge Yuanhong took out a piece of paper from the desk beside him and said, There are a total of 5 people on the list. The youngest one is 186 years old and is currently ranked second in the heavenly ranking. The other 4 are all over 190 years old. According to my estimation, these 5 people are close to reaching the emptiness realm. Ting Qingshan took the list. Unfortunately, only one of the 5 people is not from a sect. The other 4 are disciples of the 8 supreme sect. Zhuge Yuanhong pointed at the third person and said, It's him, Hu Yensua. If you want to invite someone, I'm afraid you can only invite this Hu Yensua. Ting Qingshan sighed inwardly. The youngest of the other 4 was 186 years old. They must be dreaming of obtaining the grass of immortality. Unfortunately, if these people consumed the grass of immortality, their lifespan would increase by 200 years and they would definitely reach the emptiness realm. However, these people were all from the 8 supreme sects. No matter how grateful they were to Ting Qingshan, would they work for Ting Qingshan? They might even become enemies in the future. Therefore, the sectless Hu Yensua was Ting Qingshan's only choice. Teacher, you asked me to secretly create a group of people in the south of Yangzhou. Where should I do it? Ting Qingshan asked. Zhuge Yuanhong took out a scroll from the desk and unfolded it. He pointed at the scroll with a smile and said, Qingshan, look. This is a map of the entire Yangzhou. The Tai mountain range, which has the most bandits and robbers in the region of Yangzhou, stretches across 3 counties. It stretches for nearly 600 li. Ting Qingshan's gaze fell on the map as well. There are many bandit gangs in the Tai mountain range. There are as many as 8 large gangs and countless small bandits and robbers. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and said, Qingshan, although these bandits are too barbaric, most of them are loyal and brave. There are also many who are not afraid of death. It's not difficult to create a group of people in this place. Ting Qingshan nodded. We don't need these bandits to be strong. We need them to be brave and listen to orders. When the war between the Guiyuan sect and Qing Hu Island starts, let this elite group of people consume the elixir of the North Sea and wear the fiery gilt steel battle armor. Even if it's only 1,000 cavalrymen, it will be enough to scatter an army of 100,000. Zhuge Yuanhong was very confident. Of course, the premise is that the fiery gilt steel battle armor is as powerful as Qingshan said. The elixir of the North Sea could create an expert at the peak of the post-liminary realm. An army of 1,000 first-rated warriors was terrifying enough. Coupled with the fiery gilt steel battle armor, which could be said to be an innate battle armor, killing an ordinary army would be a massacre. All right. Ting Qingshan nodded and said, There are hundreds of thousands of bandits in the 600 Li Tai A mountain range. It's not difficult to create an elite cavalry. Teacher, I will send the fiery gilt steel over immediately. You must be careful when forging the fiery gilt steel battle armor. Don't leak it. If it does, it'll be terrible. Yes, Zhuge Yuanhong recalled the magical properties of the fiery gilt steel described by Ting Qingshan and couldn't help but look forward to it. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.